Dracula in White by Peter Redgrove, broadcast on Afternoon Theatre on the 7th of March 1984. This play was the fourth in a series of 5 broadcast under the heading The Spine Chillers. It begins in mid-conversation between two people who, we gradually learn, are an investigative television journalist, Joanna, and an ex-convict, Sam. The ex-convict is in the shady business of artificially aging objects in order to sell them as antiques. Joanna hears from Sam that at his last prison there were some strange and possibly frightening practices involving a meat processing and canning factory within the prison. Prisoners up and down the country seem to be disappearing mysteriously from Her Majesty's prisons. Joanna, a television journalist, suspects that they have been used as guinea pigs in some unspeakable experiments, and sets out on a perilous course to verify her suspicions.
Antiques? Of course it's illegal, me old darling, but it's not criminal.
Your customers mightn't agree, Sam.
It's what I tell them that matters to the law. So long as they don't actually say the article's old, I'm okay. Show you something. Promise not to put it on TV.
Promise.
Could show that of yours, Joanna, today's world. Here's something from yesterday's world, maybe.
Oh, a beautiful ceramic beetle. An old Egyptian scarab, still with the traces of the original blue paint. Was it part of a necklace? There are holes drilled. 2000 BC?
Last Wednesday, Joanna.
You old crook.
I made it last week. In my little old kiln here. Now, here's another one.
Oh, that's obviously new. Freshly painted, bright as a child's new toy. But the lines of the other were blurred, beautifully, as by the friction of centuries of desert sand.
Same batch. Difference being that I took the old ones down to the farm and fed them to the turkeys.
The Christmas turkeys?
Then my boy scratched the scarabs out of the turkey litter. The grinding in the bird's crop had centuries. We call it in the trade distressing antiques.
Distressing? How quaint. But is distress illegal?
Not so long as I don't claim nothing. Everything in this shop was made sometime this year. All of it by pals of mine, ex-cons. You see, they taught us trades in prison to help us when we got out. I did modelling, fine ceramics and turkey farming. Mates of mine learned carpentry, cabinet making, welding. The old firm. Class of 82. Now, here's a nice little bureau.
Ah, I think I know this kind. Doesn't it have, just here, a secret drawer? Yes. And look, Sam, there's a little book in it. A diary, a girl's diary. The date, 1789. In lovely old copperplate. It's even faded.
They fall for that one like a ton of bricks. Now, who's the crook, I ask myself, when the punter pushes the drawer back and says nothing? Let them find a secret drawer you didn't notice, with something nice in it they're not going to tell you about, and you can name your own price.
Ah.
I've got a room of bureaus at the farm just like this, all with diaries and secret drawers.
You make it sound quite fun. Class of 82 and the rest.
I'd die before I went back inside.
Well, you made something out of it.
Hundreds don't. Prison ages you so. In a way, that gave me the idea of going into the antique trade. You hear about the prisoner's distress when he was sentenced.
Not just a figure of speech, apparently.
Prison wears you out. That's the real punishment. It ages you. It's the time stretching out, the slowness of everything, the rules, all the rules. They make you feel so old. They age you 20 years in 5. You can't move without them. When to walk, when to stand still, how to lace your shoes, lay out your clothes, time of exercise, time of association. So many minutes this, so many minutes that.
You have to think out every move in case you've broken a rule.
In prison, nothing happens of itself. Like an old man who can't trust his legs, has to think out every step, whose body has betrayed him. No, I'm not going back inside, ever. And prison's got worse. It's changing. It's got dangerous, but not in the old way, when the big villains ruled absolutely and you had to mind your P's and Q's with them. Something's happening in stir, and none of us like it. Something the government is doing.
The government is changing the prisons? I've heard nothing about that.
They built these immense factory wings for canning meat. Now, instead of the old trade, you can learn how to be a butcher. And some of the prisoners disappear.
How can a person disappear in prison of all places?
Special delivery, Mr. Mellish. Heavy, this one.
Ah, thanks, Johnny. Here you are, Joanna.
See you, mate.
Oh, splendid. Muzzle-loading pistol. Octagonal steel barrel. Wonderful wriggle-work engraving. Style of Nelson's time. In working order, I'd say. And brand new.
Crafted in its beauty by a boy who knew nothing but motors before he got pinched for driving other people's away.
You're going to distress that lovely new pistol. What a pity.
It takes really modern equipment to add the patina of age and romance. Now, this is a sonic device they invented for aging wine artificially. You drive this beam of sound vibration into your wine that was bottled yesterday and is 20 years old in 10 minutes. The vibration seems somehow to shatter to pieces, but in wine that releases the flavours. With a bit of extra power in it, it works on antiques. I put the pistol inside, and in half a day, it'll be 2 centuries old and 10 times as romantic. They're very popular.
So long as you don't say how old it isn't. Now, about those disappearing prisoners.
The Home Secretary is aware that there are at present lodged in British prisons 43,311 convicts. But is the House aware of the charge to the nation of this prison population?
Well, no.
The average cost of maintaining a prisoner dry and warm and with sufficient food and clothing is no less than £202 per week, including maintenance of the buildings. I will save the honourable members the task of calculating the yearly cost of this to the taxpayer. It is £10,507 per year per prisoner. Now, that is to say that our convicted criminals, the enemies of our society, are living at a rate far above the national average wage, and indeed at a rate that would keep your ordinary deserving family in some luxury. As a country, we are spending £455 million per year on the outcasts of our society. I would ask the Home Secretary what practical steps are being taken to reduce this load on the budget. Are radical and less expensive alternatives to prison being investigated? Weekend jail and daytime prison would immediately cut this cost and would begin to minimize this drain on our national resources.
I am able to reassure the House and the honourable member for East Grinstock that active steps are being taken.
That does not seem to me to be sufficient reassurance. Will the Home Secretary outline these steps?
That cannot be done at this moment in time, as the matter affects national security.
Well, Joanna, I asked your question in the House for you.
I'm beginning to smell a cover-up, Toby.
The newshound nostrils twitch. But what can you do about it? If the Home Secretary says national security nowadays, he has almost unlimited powers of concealment.
Well, there's a very nasty smell here. What could be going on inside the prisons that frightens so my old grass Sam Mellish? And whatever could make it a high-security risk into the bargain? I'm beginning to remember the Nazis. The medical experiments in the concentration camps. Why turn prisons into factories for canning meat?
Well, Joanna, I really don't think
it's not impossible. The Americans have used prisoners as guinea pigs and worse before this. In exchange for permission to experiment, they get remission of sentence or parole. Organise that and you've got Auschwitz all over again. Sam tells me that long-term prisoners are disappearing out of the prisons by some kind of arrangement with the authorities. They're called into the governor's office and are never heard of again. Then their families move and turn up somewhere else where they're not known and buy a bright new bungalow as if they've suddenly come into money. But the offender himself, he never turns up.
They've relocated him in exchange for information to get him away from possible revenge.
Yes, but what happens to him? And is ordinary police information a matter of national security?
I've told you, Joanna, there's nothing I can do.
But I can. I can put it on TV. What use is an investigative program like Today's World if it doesn't alert its viewers to dangerous trends in society?
Well, I'll have you instir yourself very promptly if you break national security.
Well, it's a risk I'll have to take. No government is above the law. But supposing they're infecting prisoners with terrible diseases in exchange for privileges, or experimenting with forms of radiation.
Really, Joanne?
It could be recombinant DNA work, cloning, the invention of new germs using human hereditary material, anything. In a democracy, we have a right to know.
I love you in this formidable mood, Joanna. I wish we'd married after all.
Oh, yes, and me fully occupied in bringing up little parliamentary candidates. Look, Toby, I've had my own TV program 2 years now, and I reckon it's done some good. Children can wait.
Can they? Really? Well, sometimes I think the whole world is like children squabbling. Nursery politics.
That's no way to think of the electorate. My public's a strong, faithful animal. Slow-moving, maybe, but in its wrath and its love, terrible. An elephant, maybe.
No, its memory's too short. And sometimes it seems like a kind of snake that swallows you and squeezes you out of shape.
You're getting cynical, Toby. But I'm not. I'm going to do something. First move, I'm going to visit one of those resettled prisoners' families. But I still can't understand about those canning factories.
Yeah?
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Pettit. We haven't met, but,
My husband's not here.
It's you I wanted to talk to.
I know who you are. Joanna Prim, from the telly. Ron and me, we always watch on Saturdays. You look different somehow. We're not on the telly now, are we?
No, Mrs. Pettit, this isn't game for a laugh.
Oh, that's a relief, anyhow.
Can I come in for a moment?
Oh, yes, of course you can. Please forgive the state the house is in. Come into the front room. Grandad's watching the telly, but you won't mind, will you? I'll turn the sound off. He'll be quite happy watching the pictures. Makes no difference to him. He doesn't really care whether it's on or off. But it's such a business moving him since he can't help himself.
Oh, no, Mrs. Pettit, please. The kitchen will be fine.
Well, I'll put the kettle on. Would you like a sandwich? I've got a new kind of canned meat here. It's very nice.
Well, that's why I want to tell the story on television, from the family's point of view.
I see. You mean he wouldn't come into it?
He's still inside, of course.
Well, yes, I know, but...
Which prison is it?
Well, he's not exactly in prison.
Where is he, then?
No, not exactly. It's,
Secret?
Sort of, yes. Sort of experimental.
How do you mean, experimental?
I mustn't say.
Where is your husband, Mrs. Pettit?
I signed a paper. They said I'd be in jail 10 years if I told. I can't do that. Who'd look after Grandad? You're asking the impossible. I think you'd better go now, Miss Prim.
It's a very nice house you've got here, Mrs. Pettit. Who's paying? All the bullion was recovered. What do you live on now, Mrs. Pettit?
There was an arrangement. Please go. Please go now. Ron. Ron? Ron!
Yeah, what is it, love? I'm watching the boxing. Hey? Well, I never, Joanna Prim. Hey, Peg, you've not been talking to her. She's the woman on today's world.
This is my friend, Ron, Miss Prim. He wants you to leave. Now.
Then leave I shall. What have you got for me, Sam?
Well, the word is that the big boys are getting restive. They want to know what's going on too. They like the prisons to be predictable. After all, a lot of their boys live there, and they like them to do time in reasonable comfort. But suddenly the prisons have become restive and unsettled, and nobody knows quite why. I was told that we get some quiet help if we wanted to find out.
Oh, that's good news. It's the two unexplained things together that worry everybody, I suppose.
There's nothing a con dislikes more than feeling he's being conned. It's against the natural order of things. Firstly, the disappearing prisoners. Nobody knows what happens after that summons into the governor's office. The con's never seen again. His things are quietly collected from his cell.
And the other thing is those canning wings built onto the prisons. It's a bit gruesome, but I don't actually see anything wrong with that. After all, you can learn carpentry inside. This is simply another trade to help you when you get out. How to cut up meat, how to be a butcher, how to work a canning machine.
It feels wrong.
Why?
Well, they bring in outsiders for part of the process.
Outsiders?
There's some kind of inner room where the meat is actually killed. It's forbidden for cons to go in there, and sections of carcass are passed out. There's something not quite right about the carcasses either.
What sort of something?
Well, they're sort of even, all the same, standard. No legs or heads or haunches, just ribs and backs, shoulders, bellies, just torsos. And nobody's ever seen live cattle delivered. Only lorries with sacks of chemicals. The cons have made a whole lot of jokes about it, and this means they're really worried.
Jokes for survival.
Exactly. They say that doing time has got so expensive that the taxpayer's going to have to save money by canning and eating the convicts.
Oh, dear.
They say that the judge in future is going to give you your sentence not in years, but in hands and finger joints. And for very serious offences, they'll take an arm or leg, or even two legs. And that helps security, you see, since you can't run away if they've eaten your legs. And they say that if you make that deal with the governor, they take the whole of you and turn you into pet food neatly canned. There's more.
More to worry about?
Yep. If it's just a canning factory and slaughterhouse, why do they need radioactivity?
What?
There are red radiation danger signs and special airlocks and people going about in white radiation suits with helmets and all. And then there's Dracula in white.
Dracula in white?
That's what they call him. He visits all the time with his white coat on, or his radiation suit. Dr. Something White, a big wheel in science. They don't like him one bit.
You don't mean Exeter White? Dr. Exeter White?
That's him. Do you know him?
Of course I know him. He's been on Today's World. He's a very big wheel indeed. I gave him a rough time in the interview. He's a fanatic about preparing for nuclear war. He's the only man in recent years to win 2 Nobel Prizes. One was for medicine in tissue culture and cancer research. The other was for physics for inventing a nuclear resonance device that shrinks cancerous tissue. Whatever would he have to do with prisons? Sam, there's only one thing for it.
What's that?
We'll have to break into prison.
just give your form to the screw there. When he sees that it's blank, he'll know what to do.
So the big boys have the screws in their pay.
The big boys have everybody in their pay.
Your business forms, please. Ah, I see. Why, hello, Sam.
Hello, Mr. Preston. All right, are you?
Oh, very good, thanks. This way for you and the lady. But have a bit of a wait. A broom cupboard. It's quite roomy, miss. I'll put some clean blankets over there on the shelf for you. Good luck.
Thanks, Mr. Preston.
We're locked in. Oh, God, Sam, I'm glad you brought a torch.
We might as well make ourselves comfortable. Somebody will come back after midnight and let us out. We'll not see him, and we're not to speak until we're well away from the main cell area.
What?
Now, I've got a map and a copy of the master key. The factory wing's not far, and once out of this cupboard, we've got to be absolutely quiet until we reach it. It's the screw's gone room. Quick, into the cell, it's empty. All clear.
Glad I don't do this for a living. My heart nearly stopped that time.
This is the door to the factory wing. Once inside, we can move about and talk freely and put the lights on. It's soundproof, and there are no windows. That's better.
What a strange place after the grey prison. Spotless. Glaring white tiles and shining stainless steel.
Yeah.
A broad production line table of steel rollers from a hatch in one wall to a hatch in the other. A chain conveyor with hooks overhead. Halfway along, the rollers disappear into machinery, protected by heavy-duty polythene. Lift up the flap, Sam. Let's see what's inside. Great knives in wheels, like a zodiac of sabres. It's like a car wash, Sam.
Yeah.
Look up there, great sprinklers for water.
I reckon they have to hose the place down frequently enough. You'll hook up the carcass and roll it along to the canning machinery.
So it must come out of this far wall, out of the hatch with a great padlock on it. Sam, we have to get into the room behind that hatch.
No problem. Here's the door.
With a radiation sign on it.
None of the cons get further than this door. Not that they want to.
Open it, Sam. It's very like the outer room. A bit more complicated. Table of rollers again, leading from the padlocked hatch. Conveyor chain above with hooks.
Must make a hell of a row in here when they're killing. No wonder the wing is soundproofed. Joanna?
Yes, I know. The production line should start with a cattle pen.
They drive the animals into a pen and stun them one by one.
But there's no pen. The rollers only lead to a big machine built against the wall.
The meat must come out of the machine. Look, I don't like those radiation signs.
There are lockers over here, radiation suits hanging up in them. Over here, showers and scrub rooms. The butchers wear white for their trade. I've never heard of them wearing white radiation suits.
I'm getting into one now. Please do the same, Joanna. Think of the future generations. I'd really prefer lead underpants.
I've found the control panel, Sam.
No, Joanna!
There's a switch here labelled Viewing of Culture Chamber.
For God's sake, be careful!
Let's view, shall we?
Good, oh good. Shut it, Joanna. Shut it quick.
What in God's name was it? Gleaming and speckled, gliding, rippling, rubbing against itself. This switch says Production Hatch Control.
What have you done, Joanna?
in place, Cooper. Shut off the resonator. That's better. Well, Joanna Prim. We don't want to wake up the whole prison, do we?
Dr. Exeter White.
As they say, we meet again.
Dracula in white?
It's a while since we met on your program, Miss Prim. I can't say that I enjoyed the experience.
The world has honoured you, Dr. Exeter White. I thought then that your ideas were pernicious, and I still do. My opinion is confirmed by what I see now.
Why, what's the harm, Miss Prim? I think that in the last resort our country will thank me for what I have achieved here.
I can't think that the public will approve of what you're doing here, Dr. Exeter White. And I intend telling them about it.
Please be careful, Joanna. He's got 2 security men with him, and they look like killers to me.
Oh, I hope you won't tell, Miss Prim. That would mean prison for you. This is an official secret. It would be treason to reveal it. Besides, I doubt whether you really understand what I'm doing for the sake of Britain among the British prisons.
Official secret? Why, it's quite obvious from your work on radiation and cancer what you're doing here. You've taken human tissue from those unfortunate prisoners that have disappeared, and you've irradiated it with your famous resonator in some manner that stimulates it instead of shrinking it. Stimulates its growth enormously in your machine, and you're canning the cancer you've made, and you plan to sell it off as food to offset prison costs.
Oh, that's marvellous. Oh, that is simply wonderful. What a mind you have, Joanna. Canned cancer. Oh, dear. It's really very funny. You've created a world of terror out of your own television mind. Canned cancer. Isn't that rich strangeways, Cooper?
Well, tell me then. Tell me what you're doing here so I can believe the evidence of my own eyes. Perhaps I'll laugh then.
Well, in the first place, it has nothing to do with the disappearing prisoners. You have my word on that.
I may believe you when I've heard the rest.
And in the second place, it has nothing to do with human tissue, cancerous or otherwise. Use your eyes, your famous TV investigator eyes. Look again at what came out of the production hatch and now lies still on the rollers ready for processing. Tell me what it really looks like.
I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. Sam?
Perhaps your ears will help your eyes. What does it sound like? Cooper, please turn on the activation switch again.
A great snake. A great mottled, scaly snake. Thrusting and pouring its coils out of the resonator. Rearing up and hissing. Hissing like a scream.
That's it, Joanna. You have it. Snake. We cultivate snake tissue here in enormous quantities. It turns out to be delicious, like very tender chicken. That's enough. We guillotine it in lengths and skin it and pass it out to the other room to be variously cut up and the bones removed before it is minced or sliced and canned.
It comes out alive, right?
Yes, we cut it into sections, and the sections are alive, but weaken rapidly out of the machine. We electrocute them and crush the spine to make sure they're dead. Each section has a heart and liver and lights inside muscular ribs, but of course no head or loins. It's just torso, but otherwise a perfectly ordinary carcass which has to be butchered in the usual way before canning. It's slightly radioactive as it emerges, but that wears off very quickly. Hence the radiation signs.
I see. You make snake. Continuous snake. Endless snake.
That's it. You have it. Endless snake. You see, there's nothing so terrible about it after all.
Okay. Then why the official secret?
Now, that is just the one unpleasant thing about the whole business.
I knew there was a catch.
If the bomb drops, if there is a nuclear holocaust, it is exceedingly likely that with the breakdown of all services, there will be a shortage of food and even a danger of cannibalism. To forestall this, the government are stockpiling enormous quantities of food in various underground depots all over the country. This must be kept secret For if we started importing exceptional quantities of cattle meat, questions would be asked. But with my resonator and with tissue culture, we can manufacture extraordinary quantities of delicious high-protein meat out of simple chemicals, at minimal cost and without attracting notice. Until you stepped in. But now you understand that there's no harm and no cruelty in what I'm doing. It's all right again, isn't it?
You're forgetting our confrontation on today's world.
Oh, I bear no grudge.
I dare say. But I don't believe in preparing for the bomb.
That's what we're round about.
I still hold to it. I don't believe that we should make it at all easier for people to accept the possibility of a nuclear war, with shelters for privileged people and caches of food and a new beginning promised. It won't be like that. It'll be total desolation and the death of the world. So the bomb should not even be a possibility on people's minds. That's why I'm going to tell the public about your scheme, Official Secrets Act or not. I haven't signed any paper. I've not agreed to keep anything quiet. I'm going on television to tell it as it is.
I must remind you that you have broken into the enclosed premises, the property of Her Majesty's Home Office.
So, book me for breaking and entering.
Then sadly you leave me no choice. No choice at all. Strangeways and Cooper will help. They're used to such little problems. Turn on the guillotine, Cooper. Strangeways. And then the mincer outside. Don't turn on the canning machinery. It's too noisy.
You can't disappear me, Exeter White. People know me, and you'll have to catch me first.
Quick, Strangeways, Cooper, head it off. Don't let it open the outer door. She'll wake up the whole prison, and all chance of secrecy is lost.
But I've got the man. Yes.
Ah, have you? Well, Sam, we can disappear you.
You've killed him in your machine. Oh, I'll get you for this. I'll turn on all your machines and fling the doors wide so that the uproar fills the whole prison, fills all England with its noise. Here's the cannon switch.
Strangeways, go back, quick! He's up to the door!
It's too late.
Just a minute, young lady. I think you'd better come along with me.
I have consented to hear this case in camera under the special regulations and without jury in the strictest security and with the exclusion of both public and press. This is because of the considerations of national security that are deeply entwined with the events of this prisoner's crime. It has been shown, to the satisfaction of this bench, that the prisoner, Joanna Mary Prim, has used her influential position in the public eye not only to commit murder, but also with the intention of forcing Her Majesty's government to make revelations of policy, not in the public interest. Fortunately, in the latter purpose she has failed. Security in Dr. Exeter White's important scheme is unbreached. However, the prisoner succeeded in her other purpose, which was the cold-blooded killing of her blackmailer, the ex-convict and antique dealer, Samuel Mellish. The defense alleges that the letters which show that Sam Mellish was blackmailing the defendant are forged. Expert testimony declares that they are genuine. Moreover, one of our most eminent scientists, Dr. Exeter White, a man of unimpeachable international reputation and a double Nobel Prize winner, has told us that he saw the deceased pushed into the meat-cutting machine by the prisoner. Dr. Exeter White's testimony is supported by the two security officers who were present also. I have no alternative but to accept the prosecution's case that the prisoner used her position in public life to gain access to meat-packing machinery where the disappearance of her friend would not be noticed, and that she was, at one and the same time, planning to reveal the existence of secret food depots on television for the enhancement of her personal career. This is the opinion of my learned colleagues on the bench. Also, the crime is a double one: murder and treason. Prisoner of the bar, have you anything to say before sentence is passed?
I have told you it's a lie. It's a put-up job. There is no way you can prevent me telling my story to the public.
Fortunately, there is. I sentence you to 2 terms of jail to run consecutively: 20 years for deliberate and premeditated murder, and 20 years for actions damaging to the security of Her Majesty's realm. Your sentence to be served incommunicado and in solitary confinement in a high-security prison.
High security? Escapes are not unknown. You may think you're walling me up in stone for 40 years, but governments fall. New governments declare amnesties on political prisoners. For that is what I am. Make no mistake. I'm still young and full of fight. Even if I'm an old woman when I come out, I can still tell my story.
The world may well be at peace by then, and if it is, your story will signify little. But if it is still at loggerheads or at war, telling your story would be another act of treason, for which you could be prosecuted to serve another term for as many times as would be necessary to silence you. There is no escape or amnesty for a criminal of your kind. Take her away.
You will polish your cell twice a day and the corridor outside until it is shiny. You will fold the polishing cloth exactly into 4 with even margins. You will make an even number of strokes with the cleaning instrument to the left and to the right as you polish, thus left, right, calling out left, right as you do so. You will then rinse out the polishing cloth and leave it to dry properly folded. The water is turned off at 8:30 a.m. exactly. You will complete your ablutions, your cleaning of the cell and your polishing by then, or there will be withdrawal of privileges.
What privileges? I have no privileges.
There will be no books. No cocoa at night.
Miss Spooner, can you please have the light turned off at night? I can't sleep.
Switching to the red nightlight is a privilege.
I want darkness. I want darkness.
Darkness is a privilege.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
Friend, there's
left.
a visitor for you.
A visitor? I'm not allowed visitors. Visits are a privilege. Dracula in white.
You must be settling into prison if you call me by that name.
How many others have you put into prison with your lies?
Strangely enough, Joanna, you are the only one.
My friends will get you. They'll create a scandal.
Your friends were grieving very beautifully at your funeral, Joanna.
What?
You were buried amid much sorrow last month. An unfortunate motorway accident speeding to the studio. Cooper and Strangeways enjoy arranging little accidents. Everybody thinks you're dead, Joanna.
You think you've got me?
Well, I have, haven't I? There is a way out.
A way out?
Where is your television reporter's curiosity? Don't you want the whole story?
You mean the disappearing prisoners?
It's what got you here in the first place. Now, at least, you can learn the answer.
The governor's door will close on me, and I'll never be heard of again. Is it some kind of invitation to self-execution? I tell you now, I'm not going to kill myself.
No. It's much more of a gamble. You agree to submit to some experimental research. If it succeeds, you live. The authorities cancel your prison sentence, and because they no longer have to pay your bed and board, they give you a lump sum. You can invest the sum, or bequeath it, or simply spend it. The scheme's in its experimental phase, so the terms are generous. Later on, most people sent to prison may be offered similar terms, on a less generous scale, of course. It's a kind of redundancy scheme.
Made redundant by society.
Exactly. You see, Joanna, I'm not an evil man. I was forced into those lies to protect my work. You can trust me. Now you understand what I'm doing.
I haven't anybody else left to trust.
And I do want to know. Can you tell me anything more about the program, Governor?
I've told you as much as I can. Are the financial arrangements clear? Would you like to sign now? You'll be taken straight to Dr. Exeter White's clinic without going back to your cell.
That suits me. I'll sign.
No, it's not painful. We're still learning. The nuclear resonator has to be modified from time to time, but there never was any pain.
It's your resonator that made the meat grow in the machine.
Now, please don't be alarmed. The straps here, a little tighter. Yes, my resonator, my one triumph, my one discovery. In my life, Joanna, I've only told one lie, and that was yours, and made only one discovery, and that will be yours, too. You said that prison makes the prisoner old, and that's the real punishment.
So old and tired. So many years to go.
You have to serve your sentence, but why spend all those years doing it? My resonator will help you.
You're not going to turn me into food.
No. Always yourself, Joanna. Yourself. My resonator slows tissue growth down, and that cures cancer, or it can speed it up, so that meat grows faster for food. But now I can speed up life and keep the human shape. I can speed people up.
Speed them up? They live faster? Like speed drugs?
Yes. And inside my resonator, a person will age fast. So fast.
Oh.
Joanna, your terrible 40-year sentence. You will live that through in 40 seconds.
But I'll be old. Old.
Yes, but still Joanna.
That old man. The vegetable in the bungalow, was he?
Yes, he was the gold-stealing husband of the woman with the boyfriend, Ron. Not Granddad at all. I aged him. Vegetable. Yes. I'm afraid that the aging process undergone so fast can make the brain capillaries rather fragile, and there is the danger of a stroke. But it may not happen in your case, my dear. You look distressed.
Oh, distressed? Some distressed the antiques.
Yes, well, that can't be helped. You'll be a little bit of an antique yourself, my dear.
Our convicted criminals, the enemies of our society, are living at a rate far above the national average wage. I wish we'd married after all.
There's radiation science, Joanna. Think of the future generations. I really prefer it later.
Let's not worry about that now. Worry about that now. Worry about that now. Watching the pictures makes no difference to him. He doesn't really care whether it's on or off. It's such a business movie.
I wish we'd married after all.
Children can wait.
Can they? Really?
Children can wait. Children can wait. Children can wait. My children! Oh, my children!
Dracula in White was written by Peter Redgrove, with Maggie McCarthy as Joanna and Benjamin Whitrow as Dr. Exeter White. Others in the cast: Sam, Gerald Wells; Toby MP and Cooper, Tim Meats; Ron and the Governor, John Lindstrom; Judge, Paul Nicholson; and Mrs. Pettit and the Wardress, June Barry. Other parts were played by Richard Kernow and John Lindstrom. The play was directed in Bristol by Brian Miller.
Ghosts of Albion, The story is about the Swift siblings, Tamara and William, the descendants of a wealthy early Victorian-era London family. Tamara is a budding novelist, specializing in pulp horror novels, or penny dreadfuls, and William is an architect's apprentice. One night in 1838 they are called to their ailing grandfather's bedside. There he tells them that while he may have seemed to be another stage magician, he is actually a mystical soldier who protects Albion, the mystical spirit of Britain. William and Tamara at first do not believe him, until he is suddenly slaughtered before their eyes by werewolves, and their father is possessed by a demon. Before dying, their grandfather had told the two that they are to carry on his legacy as protectors of Albion.
There are things in this world that do not belong here. Evil things. Supernatural creatures that are neither myth nor legend. They are, in fact, quite real. These enemies of humanity would like to claim the world for themselves. Yet in every corner of the globe, there are those who stand in their way, mystical guardians who protect the primeval essence of the earth. The soul of England, its mystic spirit, is called Albion. Throughout the centuries, it has had many champions, brave men and women who fought to maintain our freedom. For many decades, one man kept Albion's enemies at bay. Using magic and intelligence, Ludlow Swift protected England from the encroaching darkness. But change is in the air.
Oh, please, stop pacing, William. You're about to incite violence on a grand scale, all that mumbling. Probably counting the money Grandfather's going to leave you.
I find nothing wrong with making plans for the future.
Grandfather is in his room, quite possibly breathing his last breath.
Oh, you have to be so morbid, Tamara. Really now, you act as if Ludlow is doing this on purpose just to annoy you.
Do they actually teach cynicism at university? Or is it a personality trait that you decided to adopt of your own free will?
Oh, Father really should have sent you to that Swiss finishing school. Teach you some manners. I am your elder.
By 2 years?
And as such, I should be treated with respect.
Just because you're working as a lackey for that architect.
I'm his apprentice.
You're fetching tea and scones. I'd hardly say that makes you more an adult than I am. One of us is being well paid for their work, and it isn't you. For the last novel I sold...
Novel? That penny dreadful of yours, you mean? If you want to see art, Tam, you needn't look any further than the architects with whom I spend my days. The Euston Arch is a marvel, a work of superlative art. You're just bitter because my work takes me out of the house, leaving you without a chaperone. Ow!
I could hear raised voices through the wall.
It was William.
Tamara.
Enough.
I'm sorry, Father. You know how hysterical Tamara can be.
Silence, both of you. Oh, you're giving me one of my headaches. The bickering. I cannot abide the bickering.
Sir Ludlow's condition is quite stable now. I do believe he's going to recover very nicely.
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
I told you, Tamara.
May we see him now?
Are we sure he isn't dead? He's just lying there.
Will, I think he looks better. I really do. Not nearly so bad.
I may be laid up in this old bed, but I'm neither deaf nor dead. Not yet. Lock the door, children. That way your father and that damnable doctor won't be tempted to listen in. When you were born, I worried that you would be too like your parents. But I worried for naught. You are both bright and strong, creative, if not a bit over earnest, William.
More like he has a stick up his bum.
And you're overly impatient, Tamara, so I should watch my tongue if I were you. Now, after my death, my estate and all the paraphernalia from my stage shows shall pass to your father. Close your mouth, William. There will be more important things awaiting the two of you. Things that will take all of your attention. It seems I have staved the Reaper off for another day, and I must use that time to correct a grievous error. In my arrogance, I've left you unprepared for the legacy you shall inherit from me. All my life I've been consumed by magic. But not all of it involved vanishing coins or pulling a rabbit from a hat.
You are leaving us the rabbits. I knew it.
Be quiet, boy. Magic is quite real. And I've dedicated my life to mastering it and utilizing it to protect Albion from those who would destroy it.
I think he's gone a bit dark.
No. Invading Roman soldiers called England Albion. Something about white cliffs and fierce warriors.
The name is far older than that.
I think I should go and fetch Dr. Hillman.
Just a moment, Tamara. I think I understand what's going on here. Quite amusing, Grandfather. Haven't you played enough tricks on us?
This is no trick, William. I only wish it were. Beware, children. When I pass from this world, the power and responsibility of your inheritance will remain, and death will seek you out the rest of your days.
You can't honestly expect us to believe all of this. Next you'll be telling us that you speak to fairies and ghosts.
But I do.
William, be quiet. You're upsetting him. Now, Grandfather, I'm going to go and get Father and Dr. Hillman. I'm sure they'd be very interested in hearing all about your magical friends.
My mind has gone on before my body. Is that what you think?
Grandfather, no, of course not.
Yes, sir, that is precisely what we think. Mystical protector of England, my arse.
Very well, William. I have no choice but to leave my legacy to Tamara alone.
Now, just a minute. Let's not be hasty.
Then be silent, William, and listen to what I have to say.
Yes, sir.
Now, where was I? Yes. So very many years ago that I don't care to calculate them, my great-uncle Maurice revealed to me the truth of magic and his duties to Albion. I inherited those responsibilities. When your father was small, I tried to interest him in magic, but not everyone has the capacity. And now it falls to you, and I fear for you. There are so very many enemies out there in the dark.
Grandfather, please, we don't...
Perhaps now is a good time for me to introduce you to one of my friends. Show yourself.
Bloody hell! Be gone, spirit! In the name of God and everything that is holy on this earth!
I had a dream which was not all a dream. Blasphemy will get you oh so much further with me than piety, my handsome young man.
Just a moment, will I know that face? And the words?
Yes, let us do play this game. Oh, what fun. Oh, look at you, my dear. The flower and ripened bloom unmatched. Form so soft and charms so rare.
I exorcise you, demon, in the name of God.
She walks in beauty like the night.
How wonderful! A true admirer. Your grandfather was entirely correct. You are keen of eye and sharp of tongue. I'd wager you've the courage and intellect to match any man.
You look confused, boy. You haven't figured out who my mysterious guest is.
William, it's Lord Byron, infamous poet and philosopher.
Lord George Gordon, the 6th Baron Byron of Rochdale. It is entirely my pleasure to make your acquaintance.
May I add that he is among the great defenders of Albion?
This is absurd. Lord Byron is dead. Dead men do not float about the house reciting poetry. That I know for scientific fact.
In the face of truth, a grandson of mine hides behind science.
I've felt for a long time that Ludlow must teach you children the ways of Albion. Now, Ludlow, I know you do not wish to hear this, but they will almost certainly have learned of your weakened state. You're no longer safe in this house.
What in
the beasts? No! Stop them!
Grandfather!
Tam, wait!
Will, you can't! They'll kill you! And it's too late to save him!
They're eating him!
Oh my God! What are these?
Ethereals! Keep back! I'll stop them! He's gone, child! It is you who are in peril!
Yeah! Keep back! Keep back! Yeah!
We shall have you, young ones, when Balberith returns. We shall watch our master bleed into this world through the wound in the heart of London. He shall destroy you, and he shall leave us your bones upon which to feed.
Tamara, William, go now! I cannot protect you much longer!
Let's go!
William, what is all that commotion? My head is aching.
Good God!
Do not be frightened, my darling daughter. All will soon be well. Come to me.
Father?
It's not Father. I don't know what it is, but trust me, it's not him.
It's hell. Hell has come to Earth, and everyone we love is gone.
Get back, you filthy beast!
Oh, what I won't give for that chair right now.
Come with us, William. Balberith will give you more power and riches than in your wildest dreams. I am your father, girl, and you shall obey me.
They're playing on our weaknesses, Tam. Don't listen.
You're not my father.
Leave her be.
No pretense. We will tear your grandfather's legacy from your very soul.
Not really able to help at the moment.
Oh, ow! Fight back, you fools! If you are to fulfill your destiny, you must be warriors!
Naked woman with a spear! Lord, help us!
Fight! Show no mercy! Slaughter them all!
I'm trying!
Use magic, girl! Don't you know anything?
So we meet again, warrior queen. It will be a pleasure to defile this girl as I did your daughters.
I won't let you touch me!
Good girl!
Oh, I think I almost had the trick there.
Ow! Oh! Ow! Nasty little...
Backstairs, quickly!
Tut up and no, boys!
I can't leave my family. I have to go back. I should have stopped them. I should have done something instead of just standing there.
Gather your wits, girl. There was nothing you could do. It is one thing to kill and maim with magic, but prying a demon out of a man's soul, it can't be done without real knowledge.
You can't understand what I feel. You're only a ghost.
Who was once human. I was beaten within an inch of my life, then forced to watch as my daughters were raped before my very eyes. I think that I understand pain quite intimately.
Boadicea, the warrior queen, my God. You were the most powerful woman in Britain. You laid waste to 70,000 Roman soldiers. I read about you in...
Get in and let's go. Those things will be out here any minute.
Drive, William. The demons will be occupied with defiling Ludlow's things, but still, it's best to gain some distance.
Look, just who the hell are you anyway? And is it by any chance escaped your notice that you're completely naked?
Insolent boy. I am Queen Boadicea.
Oh, lovely. Truly. Pleased to make your acquaintance, your naked highness. Lord Byron, you're all right.
Oh, aside from the lingering tragedy of my death, I suppose so.
Ludlow's really gone, isn't he?
He is. And the bright sun is extinguished. And the stars do wander darkling in eternal space.
Oh, Will. We left his body in there with those things.
No choice, Tam. Not yet.
What will we do now? Where are we going?
To the police, of course.
We can't go to the police. They won't believe us.
No, the police will not do at all. Nigel Townsend, your grandfather's former protege. He's the only one who can help, if he will.
Well thought, Byron. Nigel isn't a sorcerer, but he does have the knowledge to teach you what you need to know, if you wish to reclaim your home and exorcise the demons from your father and the doctor.
I don't understand why you can't teach us.
Although ghosts are not bound by physical laws, we have no real magic of our own.
The job requires flesh and blood. A spirit cannot house that kind of power. We ghosts are merely foot soldiers in this war. In fact, I composed a lovely poem about the struggle.
Byron.
Well, forgive me for trying to inject a smidgen of culture into the proceedings.
Listen, you're certain it's Nigel Townsend you mean? And the man spends all his nights carousing in some of the filthiest dives of London.
Oh, I don't know, Will. There's a certain nobility beneath that cavalier air. And grandfather trusted him.
All right, we'll go see Townsend. Lord Byron, we'd be grateful if you'd return and keep watch over the comings and goings at the house. If the ghosts are right, It may be some time before we're able to go back.
Grandfather didn't deserve to die like that. We ran away. Just left his body in there with those things. We're such cowards that I can't even stand myself.
Mara, you cannot blame yourself. If you had stayed, you would be dead too.
Very well, my young magicians. A plan is set. I only hope that Townsend's bad temper and vanity prove not an obstacle to our cause.
These bones are tired. What a perfectly delicious evening.
Nigel! The door!
Do you have any idea what time it is, you two young scoundrels?
Grandfather!
Yes. Shall we be good little children and traipse right over and wake him up?
We can't wake him up. He's dead.
Is this some joke?
May we come inside, Nigel, please? I don't feel very safe outside in the hall.
Yes, of course. Come in.
It's no use, Nigel. You can't hide it from us anymore. We know everything.
Everything?
The legacy we've inherited, protectors of Albion.
He really is gone, then. Was he ill? Why did no one tell me?
He was ill, but that wasn't what killed him. No, that would be the pack of rabid loup-garoux that crashed through the window and tore him limb from limb. It was a bloodbath. There was nothing we could do.
And we can't go home because the place is overrun by demons.
And you could do nothing? You're saying Ludlow never taught you?
The ghost said that you could teach us what we need to know.
Teach you? You're insane.
Nigel, we're supposed to take Grandfather's place, defend Albion. But how can we, if we can't even take back our own home from those horrid creatures?
But all this time, and he taught you nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, good show, old boy. Well, we're all buggered now, aren't we? Who'll have a whiskey, then, to celebrate the final days of the glorious British Empire?
You can't sit back and have a drink and a laugh over this. I didn't want this. Not a bit of it. I'm still not sure how much of it I believe, but something killed my grandfather, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let them get away with it.
There's nothing I can do for you. I washed my hands of Ludlow's magic many years ago.
So you're saying you won't help us?
That is precisely what I'm saying.
You are no gentleman.
I am far from a gentleman, my dear.
Grandfather considered you a friend. Let's go, Tam.
Wait. Just give me a moment, please. The news took me by surprise. I hate the idea of a world without old Ludlow in it. You've got to understand, though, this isn't my war. Never wanted any part of it. I mean, magic, yes, once upon a time, but Look, never mind all that. His death heralds the beginning of dark times. Very dark times. I was a disappointment to him. Yet he was always good to me, even after... But for him to neglect to teach you, to train his heirs, it's unthinkable. The shadows will rise, and you haven't a hope of stopping them.
No, I don't suppose we do. Not without your help.
I must be mad.
Please, Nigel. There really is no one else.
Oh, do shut up. You've won. I'll teach you what little I can. With Ludlow dead, you'll have things scuttling out of every gutter and alley. The beasts that killed him are too primal to be acting alone. Did they say anything that
One
would...
of the wolf men said something about
Balbereth. Well, that's a nasty piece of business. Balbereth is one of the original fallen angels. Ludlow banished him and has been trying to find a way back ever since. His minions have threatened us over the years, but I never imagined they'd grow so bold.
What is the wound in the heart of London? It was mentioned in the same breath with this Balbereth chap.
I have no idea. It may mean nothing. Enough talk for tonight. You two must be exhausted.
Then you will teach us?
How could I turn you away? Sleep in the guest rooms tonight.
I don't know that I'll ever sleep again.
I always thought he was a strange fellow. And the way he was looking at you...
He was merely offering his sympathy. I don't think... Wait 1 minute. I don't need to explain myself to you, William Swift. You're not my father. Thank God.
I didn't mean...
Good night, William.
You mean to say that the ghosts were involved in the mystical battle for Albion even before their deaths?
To one degree or another. You didn't think they were hanging about for the thrill of it all? They've chosen to be a part of this war. Byron, for instance. Our poet was caught in flagrante with the young bride of one of the archdukes of hell. He was forced to flee England, and while he was abroad, he studied a bit of magic. Much of his poetry, Even the prettiest odes to love are spells in disguise, efforts to shield himself from the demon's wrath. It's all rather sad. Byron had many lovers, but few loves.
And Boadicea?
Ah, yes, her deliciously bare majesty. There were demons amongst the Roman forces, and she turned to sorcery to combat them. One very powerful spell required complete nudity to work. She died in its embrace. I think she rather enjoys appearing to us in the nude, but she'd run me through if she heard me suggest it.
The magical history of England. It's as if nothing I've ever read or been taught contained the whole truth.
Nothing ever does. Perception colours truth, William. Here, take a look at these.
Basic principles of combat sorcery. Channeling magic.
You'll need both of those to begin with. We'll stay away from hex magic for now. Let's try out a few glamours and some revelations.
Glamours?
How to make something appear to be other than what it is. To make a cat appear to be a tiger, or an ugly woman look beautiful. A revelation is the opposite. But all of this will take a great deal of focus and effort.
Then we'll have to work that much harder.
Tam, you look... That's beautiful. Where did you...
Nigel was kind enough to lend it to me.
Yes. Well, obviously that dress isn't from my wardrobe. One of my past lady friends.
I don't know where we'd be without your help, Nigel.
Ragged and filthy, lost in the street and hunted by demons, I'd imagine. I'll leave you to the books.
Where are you off to, Nigel?
You'll find I spend most evenings out. Even in the worst of times, life must go on.
I thought you were going to help us.
All the help you need is in this room. There's nothing I can teach you that I wouldn't have to look up in the pages of a book myself. And I am no sorcerer, William. You forget, my knowledge is only that of a layman. My studies with Ludlow were extremely short-lived. I'll look in on you when I return.
I guess we're not very exciting, are we, William? Oh, there's enough information in this book to overwhelm 10 brains.
Ho there!
Not another one.
Wait! Can it be Admiral Lord Nelson? My God!
My brother is an admirer of yours, Lord Nelson.
Honoured to be recognised and to be of service. And particularly honoured to be in your presence, Miss Swift. I've read all of your pamphlets. Wonderful voice. Thrilling adventures.
You've read those penny dreadfuls. You're joking. Well, they're nothing really, just little flights of fancy I dreamed up.
Not nothing at all, miss. Sir Ludlow gave me the first to read, and I cornered him for the others. The man was quite proud. Quite proud indeed. And there's plenty of free time to read when you're dead.
Lord Nelson! I'm speechless. This is fantastically unbelievable.
Merely Horatio, now, if you please. Had many titles whilst my heart was still beating. Baron, Lord, Duke, Admiral. Just another ghost now, as you can see. Another soldier in the greatest war of all. My soul for the Empire!
Of course! For the Empire!
For the Empire, William? Really? You do cut a magnificent figure, Lord Nelson. Very imposing.
Thank you kindly, miss. It takes time to adapt, though, to being spectral. It takes a fair bit of getting used to. Now, I bring word from Byron. Family estate still overrun with demons and so forth, but it seems that your father and that Dr. Hillman have abandoned the place. Probably indulging in one vice or another.
Oh, I feel so impotent, Will. Are you sure we shouldn't find Father and then worry about these books?
I don't know, Tam. I'm torn. Part of me thinks we should go after him, but I don't know what we'd do with him if we found him.
Oh, you're right. We should study until we're sure we can help him.
Wise choice, my girl, wise choice, yes. Far wiser than your choice of lodgings, I may say.
Why do you say that, Lord? I mean, Horatio.
Pretends not to know me, but I remember your host. He served under me on the Agamemnon at the outset of the French wars.
But that's impossible. Nigel's not old enough.
Right, that's just what he would say. And has said, no doubt, eh? Perhaps it was my father, said Mr. Nigel Townsend. But I'm convinced otherwise. The man is older than he looks. I'd offer him your trust very carefully. All good luck in your studies. If you need us, any of us, just shout and we will hear. Boadicea will be along soon, I'm sure.
Now, let's see, where was I? Ignate! Oh, oh, that worked a bit too well. Will, you've got to see this.
What is it? I'm right in the... Oh, bloody hell, it worked! Oh,
well done, Will.
Now what?
You cast a glamour that terrified even yourself.
Yes. Well, bravo, William.
Focus on your destination. You must learn translocation, or someday you will find yourself in danger with no avenue of escape.
They know, Majesty. Either they'll get it or they won't. Why not leave them to it? Stop making a nuisance of yourself.
Still your tongue, cur. Oh, had I a sword and fingers of flesh to wrap around its hilt.
But you don't, you murderous trollop. You're dead. Now please do shut up and leave them to do what they must.
Under the same sky, under the same moon, like a fallen leaf, let the spirit winds carry me to my destination.
A brothel? William? Oh, put your eyes back in their sockets. Oh, Boadicea said we had to focus, and she did not mean on nearly naked women.
I know, but I got this picture in my head, and the more I tried to erase it, the more stubbornly it became engraved.
Oh, for God's sake! Really, William? You've got to keep your mind out of the gutter. Under the same sky.
Under the same moon.
It's moments like these when you are most beautiful.
Nigel, my God, don't do that. You gave me such a fright. What are you doing here? Has something happened?
Something indeed. You, Tamara, in the eye blink of a decade, you have blossomed into a breathtaking beauty.
You flatter me.
Not at all. Nothing I could say could do you justice. Perhaps your dead poet could find the words, but Byron is not here.
No, he isn't. My brother is, however, just down the hall. This is hardly appropriate, Nigel. Though I'm sure you're quite used to slipping into ladies' bedchambers at night.
Quite.
You should not be here. I am a guest in your home.
Tell me to go.
What?
Tell me to go.
You're old enough to be my father.
And then some. Tell me to go.
Nigel, no, Nigel, no, get up, you're hurting. Stop!
Tam? Ludlow never told you?
Paralysis moribunda!
What in heaven's name? Tam, what is my... God, no!
Will, please, I need help. The spell won't hold him for long.
A vampire? He's a vampire? He's probably one of Balbareth's errand boys. And what in the hell is he doing in your bedroom?
You are making a mistake.
Paralysis moribunda!
Tamara!
Listen to me, boy. I would never do you harm. Your eyes did not deceive you. I am a vampire. I've been sentenced to this existence longer than you can even begin to fathom. And believe me when I tell you this, it is a sentence, one from which I long to escape. I desire blood, Master William. I could devour you this very instant, but I will not. I cannot. I take only what is offered, and even then, only blood, never life.
What of my blood, then, you monster? I never offered you that!
I will not fight you. You belong to Ludlow.
What was that about offering? What did you offer him?
Later, William.
Why would your grandfather have allowed me to live if I were truly evil?
Mariani,
He would
Adonai,
not.
and Cabra.
Your grandfather would never abide it.
Place in our hands the fury of Kali and the lightning of Zariatmek.
Don't do this. No. No! Please! Leave me be!
Tamara, maybe we should wait until the ghosts... What I mean to say is it all right to be final judge?
Oh, I say, what did we hear, young uns? A betrayer in our midst.
Help me, Nelson!
He's a vampire, Horatio! A vile leech! He's tasted my blood!
So you are older than you look. Oh, by God, I knew it! I never forget a face. You were the insolent sailor I had put in irons on board the Agamemnon those long years ago. We always wondered how you escaped.
And you'll wonder for eternity, you pompous ass. I should have killed you when I had the chance.
Oh, shut up! Spirits on intangible, Townsend. Nothing but lonely mist where humans are concerned. But you are not human, are you? Which means the ghosts can touch you!
We've got to go after him.
I'm sorry, my young friends. Oh, to have him in my grasp. He was mutinous when I knew him, and traitorous now. I could only think of... I behaved rashly, but I could feel the fiend's throat in my hands. Well, hand, obviously, but...
Out of the way, sir. You're keeping us from...
Intentionally, William. I am blocking your way with the most intentional intention. This is why I came in the first place, you see. The others were worried your senses were not attuned enough yet to realize...
Please remove yourself from our path, Horatio.
Now, see here, young lady. Let me speak. The city is under siege. There is no time for you to pursue the beast. Demons run rampant on the Strand. You are the mystical defenders of Albion, and you are needed now. The vampire's destruction will have to wait.
Demons? But we're simply not ready.
Demons care not a whit. In fact, I'm confident they would be pleased to hear it. I'm afraid you have no choice, my dear. Queen Boadicea believes Balberith's minions may be attempting to lay the foundations for his return. If we fail to stop them, London will be his by morning.
No! I'm sorry, Horatio, but we're not rushing off to combat the forces of hell until you tell us exactly what we're up against.
Now look here, miss. Child of privilege you may be, but you are now a soldier in the midst of war. I expect those under my command to show a good deal more backbone than that. It will take courage.
Courage, not stupidity, sir.
Caution should not be confused with cowardice. And we're not under your command, you know.
Queen Boadicea! Lord Byron! We must speak with you now!
Majesty.
Lord, here we are again with his prudishness. And from the very man who spent his clandestine nights buried in the overflowing bosom of a certain Lady Hamilton.
Sir, I shall require satisfaction for that remark at
Silence! Children, what is the delay? Has Nelson not told you of the crisis at hand? Time is wasting.
We know that. Were you aware that Nigel was a vampire?
Actually, that explains a lot.
Know it? Of course I did not know it, or I would never have allowed you to stay at his home.
He attacked Tamara. Who knows how many young women he's murdered under our very noses? Thank God Horatio and I came to a rescue, or who knows what would have happened.
I was doing quite well on my own, William. I don't need either of you to protect my virtue, thank you very much.
There's gratitude for you.
Oh, what cruel irony. That leech is still alive, while I am merely a shade.
Nelson, you do make me laugh. Vampires aren't any more alive than we are.
Are they not? Townsend can savour a pint, or pleasure a woman. He can still play cribbage, the traitor. I'll crush the life from him, I swear it.
What are we missing? I thought you clapped him in irons for mutiny.
He cheated an admiral at cribbage. If that's not mutiny, what is?
Damn your tongues! People are dying while you run on.
Boadicea is right. Is it possible that Nigel is working for this Balberith?
It's possible, but who's to say for certain?
With Sir Ludlow dead, the demon scourge may have found a way. But the source of the attack is a question for later. First, the demons must be driven out. You cannot delay another moment.
We need to know what it is we face, so that we can prepare.
Prepare? You've done all the preparation that will be allowed you. I'm afraid, Tamara, that the time for study has come to an end.
We've never been able to do this right, Boadicea. Never been able to focus properly.
You'll focus properly tonight, my young friends, or you will fail in your sacred duty to Albion.
Focus on the church, St. Mary le Strand. It should give you a perfect mental anchor you can both visualize.
And we will be right behind you.
Under the same sky, Under the same moon.
And so it begins.
Oh, my dear God.
Take a look around you. I don't think he's listening. We can't do this. This is overwhelming. We can't even exorcise one demon out of Father. How can we defeat all these monsters? It's insanity, Tamara. The laws of probability are most definitely not in our favour.
You're right, Will. But how can we turn our backs on this horror when we have been blessed with the power to do something about it? We are Odysseus and Cucullin and Hercules. We can fight the darkness. And because we can, we must. And then we shall find Father and destroy the demon that has tainted him. I swear it.
You really do have a way with words, Tam. A bit Homeric, but the right sentiment.
All right, then, shall we? What, no weapon, Byron?
One needs no weapon when one fights with one's wit. I have a tongue that many would say is more adroit.
Byron, say it outright or not at all. And now, young Swifts, into the fray!
And let the wing take her!
Good show, Admiral. And now then, my friends, go to it. In his hands, the lightning trembles.
Under the same sky.
Morio, Maleficus Prodigium!
Let me help you with that one. He'll be all right in a moment. But you, that spell was a marvel. There'd be none of Beauty's daughters with a magic like thee.
That's very flattering, Lord Byron, but please. William! Oh, well done!
Morning and wrists, Sam. Happy to know you approve of something I've done.
Get back, you nasty demons!
Let's try Sphere of Armour, shall we? I'm feeling a bit exposed at the moment. Sphere of Armour. Encircle we two. Build a safe haven.
Damn it! Byron, they took him.
Tamara, he's a strong lad. He can take care of himself. You are needed here.
I'm sorry. Keep at them. Morio, Maleficus Prodigium!
Tamara Swift, where are you going?
Will needs me. I can feel it. Byron, behind you!
Father! Stupid boy thinks his father's come to save him. Balberith has ordained William Swift to die at my hands. I think I'd like to have a bit of fillet with my meal, Doctor.
No.
Paralysis moribundus!
Oh! Tam, if not for you,
Another time, Will. We must try to exorcise their demons while we have the chance. Take my hand.
Recaedo
monstrum. Recaedo monstrum. Receive cruel demons.
What in heaven's name?
Tamara.
Father.
My little girl. What a pretty throat to cut.
Tamara!
For God's sake, Henry, no!
Damn it! Doctor, out of the way! Let me have a clear shot at him! He's too strong for... No, Father, Tamara, you must remember that! Recaedo monstrum!
Oh, Will! He's escaped!
We'll get him back, Tam.
I'm just so scared. We've got to find Nigel. He's our only lead.
And he'll lead us to what? To the lives we've left behind? Our first order of business is to get our house back. We must think of our future, Tamara. Let the ghosts search for Nigel.
But he might be able to help us.
What makes you think he would? He's a vampire. We don't know what he's capable of.
I feel like such a fool. I let him kiss me, Will.
Well, at least nothing worse happened.
Oh, my goodness.
The ghosts seem to have done quite well without us.
You're too modest, my friend, and modesty is highly overrated. Thanks to the both of you, the tide had turned even before the fight took you from the main stage.
Indeed, Miss Swift, you were an inspiration.
Why, thank you, gentlemen.
Do not spend too much time on self-congratulations. Many of the demons spoke of Balberith. It seems our instincts were correct.
I can't understand why Balberith is so keen to get back up here. It's not as if hell isn't filled with the beautiful and the damned. Perhaps guarding the archives for Satan bores him, who can tell?
This is horrible. The demons keep mentioning the wound in the heart of London. The only hope we have is to discover its location as soon as possible and destroy it.
Wait a moment, Tamara. Have you listened to a word I've said? What of Father? What of our home? Grandfather's corpse lies rotting in his bed, awaiting proper burial. I thought this would finish it, that when we found Father, we could return to our normal lives. At some point, we've got to put things back in order. I have responsibilities.
Yes, you do. And they're here with me. This must take precedence, Will. Grandfather would agree. We are the protectors of Albion.
No, I am an apprentice to one of the finest architects in London. And all he has heard from me these past days is a single note promising to return the very moment the household could manage without me. That's tragically funny, don't you think? There isn't a household.
My God, Will, listen to yourself. We speak of hell on earth, and all you're thinking about is that bloody hideous Euston Arch. All along your heart hasn't been in this, but now it must be. We have a duty.
And I reject it. You go about your business, sister, and I shall do you the favour of going about mine.
Oh, Will, if you do not see to this business, there may be nothing left of the other.
I received your note, William, but still I was beginning to think you might not return.
I don't blame you, Mr. Sinclair. But believe me when I say I return to you at the first possible opportunity.
Well, then, we're pleased to have you back, William. I'm not an unsympathetic man, but you have missed a great deal. I trust there will be no more absences.
No, sir. Absolutely not. And thank you, sir.
Let me just fetch young Thompson. He'll bring you up to date. I think you'll be very impressed by what we've accomplished.
Will?
Ah! My God, Tam, do you want to kill me?
I don't really think you want me to answer that.
What are you doing here, you lunatic? Sinclair can come back at any minute.
I don't care. Since you left us last night, we've searched everywhere for Nigel, hoping he might know something. It's time to take our house back. Grandfather's papers may contain the only clues to the location of the wound. And there is still a matter of his remains. I thought you would want to be a part of that.
Oh, don't try to manipulate me, Tamara.
I cannot do this alone. I need you.
You know I'll help. But please, can it not just wait until tonight?
Don't you understand? There may not be a tonight. Oh, I know you don't think I appreciate what you've done for me, but I do.
You understand, I'm just trying to look out for you, Tam. For our family. I know it seems childish, but I confess, you're just so much better at all this than me. Architecture I understand, but magic? It'll take a lot more time before that becomes second nature, I'm afraid. Can't you give me just a few hours?
Of course I can. But somehow I doubt the hellspawn swimming in the Thames is going to wait that long.
Excuse me? In the... Tam, no! You cannot be serious.
Soon there will be more and more and more still, until all the hordes of Balberith's damnable realm walk the earth.
Never, upon my soul.
On the contrary, all too soon.
Rivers run dry and nations die. Age withers leaf and flesh and love. Entropy take hold. Entropy take hold.
I was warned you might come, sorcerers. Kill me, and I shall only be born again. My lord Balberith has sworn.
You're nothing more than a servant worm. Go back to the hole you came from.
Stupid children, do not think that you humans are impervious to my master's call. It was human hands that constructed the womb that will bear my master into this world once more.
No! The Vortam's mesmerizing them! That voice!
William, Tamara, fight it! The beast is lulling you so that it might...
Tamara! William!
Good God! It can't be! Such spark! Such beauty extinguished!
Oh, compose yourself. Such weeping does not befit a warrior.
I'm a poet, you moron! She's the warrior!
Did you really think that we would let old worm breath digest us without a fight?
That's the spirit, Will.
Oh! Get a hold of yourself, Boadicea. You're a queen after all. Now, if you'll excuse me for one smidgen of a second, I have a small memento to retrieve.
Well done, young'uns, but how did you manage it?
We worked a spot of magic from the inside out. I was so terrified that I didn't even have to use a spell.
Then I thought us back onto the bridge. I think I'm finally getting the hang of this translocation business.
Oh! Don't do that, Byron.
Your grandfather's power was also intensified during moments of peril.
What is it?
Voterm's heart. Without it, Balberith will be unable to raise the beast again. Keep it safe, Tamara. Someday it may come to your aid.
Nothing for your other favourite mortal?
A kiss if you're not careful.
Perfectly all right without a gift, thank you just the same.
You are valiant, William. But Tamara clearly has a greater natural affinity for magic and for war.
Preposterous! Magic, perhaps, but war is a man's game.
You forget yourself, Horatio. Huh? I was spilling the blood of invaders on these shores centuries before you were a lustful glimmer in your father's eye. War is not a game, and it is not exclusively a male pursuit. Suggest it again, and I'll take the other arm.
Aye, aye, Majesty.
You only have one of those as well.
You would mock the afflicted?
I think it's high time that we returned home, Will. With Balberith's minions readying London for his return, they won't have had time to keep house.
And if they are still in residence, we shall behead them all.
Or at least drive them out. Decapitation would require a bit more work. The vertebrae can be a little tricky.
Oh.
Well, they can.
Home then, my friends.
The youngsters need warm clothes and a fire. They're near to freezing in the open air.
Let's go home, Will.
Worry not. They're good children. They'll see that you're buried properly just as soon as this is over. You were a good man, Ludlow Swift, and a good friend. I'll miss you. I would wish that your spirit had remained behind with the rest of us, but in life you did more than any other to defend Albion. You have earned your rest, my friend. My heart.
Look, Will. This was the first show I was allowed to see of Grandfather's.
These papers came from your grandfather's journal. Ludlow kept an accounting of his battle with Balberith. Where has Byron gone to?
I can't concentrate here. Between the awful taints the demons left on this place and the despair these two are giving off, this place is like a cemetery. I might as well go back to being completely dead. In fact, I'm in the midst of composing a poem about that very yearning. Would you like to hear it?
No.
Wasn't asking you. You pair wouldn't know fine poetry if it bit you on the arse.
Wait a moment. I think I found something. Balberith is too strong. I fear I shall not prevail. There's more. We have done it, the ghosts and I. The demon lord has been banished to his hellish home for so long as I draw breath upon this earth.
Oh,
I know, Will. I miss him so much.
We were all there. Boadicea, Horatio, myself. I remember nothing relating to a wound or the heart of London.
There must be something.
All day I have pored over these papers. There is nothing.
There may be something that we have all overlooked.
Nigel?
You dare! Stop it, you fool! I'm here for you! For Albion!
Fiend!
Stop this now!
Your timing is suspect. I swore I'd have your head, creature. Bad enough to be a mutineer and a shoddy sailor, but a vampire to boot? Oh, you won't fare as well this night as in that cribbage game.
I never even liked cribbage, you pompous, one-eyed sadist. Not my fault you were so bloody awful at it.
Kill him!
No, let me.
That will be quite enough of that.
Have you lost your head entirely?
Hardly. I believe I'm the only person in this house, living or dead, who's managed to keep it.
Thank you, Tamara. I'd hoped...
Oh, do shut up! It was as much my fault as yours that all this happened. I should have screamed for Will the moment I realised you were in my bedroom. But all that is beside the point.
You'd best explain quickly, girl.
It would require no explanation if any of you were thinking clearly. Horatio and Nigel have history, so I can understand the Admiral's response, but the rest of you... The first thing William and I did when we returned home was to erect magical barriers around this house so that the demons could not return. Nigel is a vampire, a supernatural being. Those barriers should have kept him out.
If he was an enemy. Oh, Lord. We almost gutted him.
I almost gutted him.
An enemy or not, the vampire deceived you. We had every reason to suspect him of other sins.
True enough, Majesty. But now that you know I'm no traitor, you might want to have a look at what I brought with me.
Oh, these are in my grandfather's hand.
What?
Now, he didn't feel it wise to keep all of his journals in the house. He gave them to me for safekeeping, and...
Look here.
A map of London.
Not merely of London, if I'm correct. It's a map of...
It's a map of war. Good show, William. Those are the locations of Sir Ludlow's battles with Balberith.
Dear Lord, is this where it happened? Where he defeated him and banished him?
Precisely where.
What is it, Tamara? What have you found?
Will, do you see it?
Euston Station. It's the land upon which we're building Euston Station.
Oh, not just the station, Will. The arch. You once said that you had no idea what the architect had in mind, building the damnable thing so massive. You said it made no aesthetic sense.
And it doesn't. We've been arguing that with the commissioners all along, but they just brush us off. It's so odd. Why cover it with all those strange markings? There's no sense of cohesiveness with the station itself. There's... Oh, God.
That damnable worm.
The Vorterm.
What did it say exactly? Do any of you remember?
It was human hands that constructed the womb.
Bloody hell.
It may well come to that, vampire.
Why didn't I see it? Damn my blind eyes! It wasn't only the Vorterm. They were taunting us with it all along. What have I done? What have I been a part of?
You could not have known, William. This is not your burden to bear.
The arch is no mere passage. It's a portal into hell.
The wound.
At last, the puzzle is solved and the protectors of Albion are called to arms in her defence. I pray we are not too late.
Let's go give Balberith a welcome home present. Do you feel it? A ripple in the air. Something truly awful.
Byron, Horatio and I will circle around the back of the arch and see what we can see.
Why do we always have to fling ourselves into the melee without forethought? I wonder if taking a few moments to create a more intricate plan of attack might behoove...
We take time to create, as you say, and Balberith will be gorging on our young charge's brains by tea time. In the midst of chaos, strategy must be instinctive. Lead on, Boadicea!
Wonderful. We had the element of surprise in our favour. But if Byron and Nelson don't keep quiet, very soon we'll all be ghosts.
Yes, well, the element of surprise might offer an advantage if we weren't completely outnumbered, and if Tamara and I weren't absolute novices at sorcery. Yes, this is shaping up well, isn't it? Which is why I brought along a little something to even the odds a bit.
Speed is our greatest asset, Will. We talked about this. If we use the sphere of armour and strike quickly...
We can't just rely on magic alone, Tam. Light this and watch it burn. Science can be a beautiful thing, my friends.
I never play with fire.
You don't have to. Leave it to me.
We have to be careful, William. I'm relieved to have you with me, but you can't run around playing hero. Grandfather split the magic between us. We have to focus, to work together. You understand that, don't you?
I'm not a fool, Tamara.
I never said that you were.
All right, are we going to stand around here all night gabbing, or are we going to do this? Because if we're not, I'd like to go home.
It's now or never, boys.
I think I have at least 300 years on both of you.
I'm sure you do, old man.
Bloody hell, this has to be the right place. We heard the howling of those were-beasts, for God's sake.
Someone's developing quite a tart tongue.
I find it rather refreshing, actually. Where did she go?
Tam! I don't understand.
A glamour. The portal was hidden behind a glamour. We're too late.
Not yet, we're not. Balberith hasn't broken through. There's still time to stop it. Or perhaps not. Ghosts of Albion! The time has come!
No, it's already here. Hurry, my friends.
Balberith! Damn you, demon! You shall not tread upon the soil of Albion for another moment!
Bloodletting isn't going to win the day, Tamara.
No, but it'll do for these savages. We'll save the sorcery for... Will! No! Avert your eyes! Don't let the demon use you!
The devil's got him! Well done, man. I didn't even see the damn...
Oh, stop dallying and help Tamara. She's gone to save William. Without us to defend her, she...
Let go! You mustn't my hair, you horrid thing. And back to the pits of hell you go!
Will, please wake up. There's only a few moments before the demon lord regains his full...
Hello, son. I wondered what was keeping you.
Nothing, Father.
Come on, then. I've a friend who's just dying to meet you.
I'm sorry, Father. Oh, damn, I didn't mean... Oh, Lord, please be all right. This isn't going to work. I can't do this without
Your bloody hands assisted in my
No! You can't have him. He belongs to us. To Albion!
You lily-livered mongrel! Back to hell with you!
William! Tamara! The power is not inside you. It is you!
Will, where are we? I feel so... Oh. What's happened?
They went inside Balbarith to save me. We have to help them. I believe Tamara. I truly believe now.
You are all alone now, my little sorcerers. You cannot stand before me. You are...
Disgusting! I don't need to visit hell now that I've spent a few moments stewing in the odious fog of that demon's breath.
Balbarith, this is for Ludlow.
Those bombs of yours, William. Run and get them. Spectres, hurry and help Nigel!
I know your kind, demon, like a wolf on the fold. But we know what happened to the Assyrian, don't we?
Here they are, dear sister. One for you and one for me.
Fight fire with fire!
No!
Boadicea! We must drive him back into the arch! Help us!
Barricade on Monstrum!
As long as there is a swift to guard Albion, you will never walk upon this isle again!
And the idols are broke in the temple of Baal.
Father! Oh, finally!
Balbarith still returns.
Barricade on Monstrum!
He's still possessed. I thought that... We've won. I thought if we won...
There, my girl. Things will change. I promise you that. You'll work at it, and eventually you'll evict the demons. Until then, you must take him home.
Home? Yes. Let's all go home.
We managed to defeat Balbarith. I don't know how, but we did.
Your grandfather would have been so very proud.
Would have been. He is, I'd wager. Somewhere he is. But Balbarith was only the beginning. You know that, don't you? You are the mystical protectors of Albion, and there are bound to be many other challenges ahead.
Whatever those challenges might be, we'll face them.
Together. We'll face them together.
The glamour is dissipating. All this chaos will draw attention soon.
We had best be gone before it does.
Quite so. But after you, my lord.
Showing some respect at last, my boy.
Perhaps. So, Might I tempt you to a final game of cribbage?
Sir! Would you two just stop?
Would that we could, my friend. But I fear we've just begun.
That was Ghosts of Albion Legacy by Amber Benson and Christopher Golden, starring Rory Kinnear as William Swift, Jasmine Hyde as Tamara Swift, Joe McFadden as Lord Byron, Emma Sams as Queen Boadicea, Anthony Daniels as Lord Nelson, Patterson Joseph as Nigel Townsend, Leslie Phillips as Ludlow Swift, and Roy Skelton as Henry Swift. It was produced by Yelena Georgievich, and the director was Amber Benson.
The Human Chord by Algernon Blackwood, bored and disappointed by his humdrum adult existence, and seeking an adventure of the soul, he comes across a strange advertisement in a newspaper. Attracted by the promise of adventure, he travels to the remote mountains of Wales where he is to assist Philip Scale in his enigmatic experiments in sound. Caught up in the mystical adventure he has yearned for, Robert begins to feel in touch with the greater elemental scheme of the universe.
The Human Chord by Sheila Hodgson, based on the novel by Algernon Blackwood. The Human Chord.
Listen.
Yeah, I've had just about enough of it. Last evening as well. You better have words with him. This won't do.
Oh, it's a nice voice.
Upsetting other people. He's got no consideration. Don't you know the gentleman in the front room's on nights?
I'll tell him. Breakfast, Mr. Spinrobin?
No need to be unpleasant. Just explain this is a quiet house. We can't have lodgers shouting the place down. My God, there's enough noise at work. I'm entitled to a bit of peace when I get back.
Yes, Arthur. You're right, of course.
Nothing but noise. Gets right inside your head at times. Blasted machines. There's a rumour, by the way, we could be going over to munitions.
Oh, Lord. Does that mean
Well,
that
I
you're
don't
not...
know, do I?
Good morning, Mrs. Judd. I'll do your egg right away.
Thanks. Heard you singing. As usual.
Beautiful day.
That's a matter of opinion. You've seen the newspaper, of course?
Not yet.
Oh, dodgy.
Really?
Of course, you're in the book trade.
A publishing house, actually.
If there is a war, I dare say you'll want to enlist, Mr. Spinrobin.
I'm not much good at fighting anybody.
Nobody in England is, son. That's why we're going to win. We don't want to fight. But by jingo, if we do, they'll stop the bloody Kaiser dead in his tracks.
It may not happen. Is there any tea in that pot?
I'll get some fresh. Make no mistake about it. We are on the brink of Armageddon.
Isn't that a terrifying word?
Pardon?
I've always been fascinated by words. Armageddon.
Huh?
You can hear the trumpets snarl and the drums rumble and the cannon rolling slowly over the skyline. Yet it's just a word, a series of noises. But from the sound you get this amazing picture. Armageddon.
We need more tea, Doris.
You'll have to put the kettle on again. There you are, dear. I thought you could manage 2 eggs.
Thanks.
I'll put the kettle on then.
Mr. Spinrobin?
Yes.
I hope you'll forgive the liberty, but would you mind not singing quite so early? And not quite so loud.
Good Lord, I'm terribly sorry. Have I been disturbing you?
Only from time to time.
How awful. I won't do it again. I used to sing in the church choir at home. Sometimes I thought it would lead to, well, a more exciting sort of life, you know.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend it. Not really.
Don't worry. But I may be changing my job.
For something artistic? Oh, I wouldn't if I were you. You never know where you are with the art.
No, it's... Well, that's rather difficult to explain. I saw this advertisement in the newspaper.
Now, don't let your egg get cold.
Here. Now, what do you think? There. See? At the bottom.
Oh, here. Wanted. A personal assistant with courage,
And imagination. Must have a good tenor voice and some knowledge of electrical science. A scientist, would it be?
He's a clergyman.
Well, I don't know. I suppose it's all right.
I wrote to him. His name is Scale. The Reverend Philip Scale.
He didn't mention wages.
Oh, he did in a letter. I had a letter back yesterday. He lives in Wales. He's retired now and working on some sort of experiment.
Well, I should ask for more information, dear. You can't go rushing off to Wales, not without a definite offer.
He suggested 4 weeks.
Pardon?
No, a trial period. To see if I suit the job.
Well, it doesn't do to chop and change things.
The address is the old rectory.
And what about your room? Arthur would insist on proper notice, I'm afraid.
Oh, I should prefer to keep the room, Mrs. Judd, in case things went wrong.
Ah, yes. Yes, I'd do that. Well, all I can do is wish you good luck, dear. Now, do eat up your eggs.
Mr. Spinrobin, of course. You must be Mr. Spinrobin.
Oh, how do you do, sir?
How do you do?
That was an easy guess. I seem to be the only person on the train.
We have few visitors. A pleasant journey?
I was delayed at Cardiff. It was good of you to wait.
My dear sir, if you were not on one train, you would be on the next. I was determined to meet you. Our scenery is somewhat melancholy and inhospitable.
It's very pretty.
Good God, man, have you no ear for words? Pentuin is vast, oppressive, dominating, majestic, if you like. It is not pretty.
Yes, I have some luggage with me.
Oh, leave it there. The carrier will bring it up to the house later with my provisions. You like walking, I expect?
Why, yes. I feel like stretching my legs after that journey.
Good. Even at my age, I contrive to take a little exercise each day. It's only 5 miles from the station.
The house? 5 miles?
Yes, yes. Forward, Mr. Spinrobin. Forward.
Could we go a little more slowly, Mr. Scale?
Oh, I beg your pardon. You've been ill?
No, I'm just not used to such rough ground.
Splendid, isn't it? The great spread of bare mountain and falling cliff. There's a savage and desolate beauty here that lifts the spirit.
You're certainly very isolated.
Well, I hope you won't think it too lonely, Mr. Spinrobin. There are 4 of us at the house.
I see.
Myself, my housekeeper, and a young lady who arrived last week. She has a fine soprano voice. I'm reasonably satisfied with her. Now, you, I understand, are a tenor.
Yes.
Well, give me an example, please.
Now?
Why not? No, wait. Now, there's a particular place. Yes, kindly stand about 10 yards from the base of that cliff and give me a scale in C.
I really don't feel able to...
Why not? Now, take a deep breath. Come along.
La, 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 la.
Once more.
La, 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 la.
Yes. There is a thinness in your top notes. We shall have to work on them.
I'm not used to singing in the open air.
Oh, that will be absolutely necessary. And you must blend with the other voices.
You mentioned some experiment with sound.
I did indeed. What is your name?
Robert Spinrobin, sir.
Stop. Now, shout that name. Shout out loud. Call it to the mountaintops.
I'm sorry. Honestly, I can't. It's a bit embarrassing.
Now, don't waste my time with your civilized evasions. I want to hear your name.
Spinrobin. Spinrobin.
Again? Louder.
Spinrobin. 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 Spinrobin.
Good. Do you begin to understand?
Well, there's an echo.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
The Word was a sound, Spinrobin, and out of it God created his universe. Now do you comprehend the strength, the wonder, the awful power of sound?
You're very comfortable here. What a charming room.
Yes, I'm reasonably well placed. Oh, can Mrs. Maule cut you some more of her delightful cake?
Yes, indeed.
Cake, Mrs. Maule. Oh, and we shall need some more hot water. Hot water, Mrs. Maule.
Your housekeeper doesn't say a great deal. She seems very quiet.
The gift of language should not be used wantonly or ill-advisedly. A great many evils might be avoided if half the world would only be silent.
Oh, I agree. Those awful speeches the Kaiser keeps making. I've left my paper in the train, but Mr. Asquith spoke in Parliament on the danger of a German war.
Never.
Several political experts are talking about the threat to our navy.
There will be no war.
Do you take the Times?
I take no newspapers, Mr. Spinrobin, but I can assure you there will be no war. Here's the hot water. Could you oblige me by lifting the lid of the teapot? Excellent.
Thank you, Mrs. Maule.
Let us try a small experiment, Mr. Spinrobin. Put your cup on the table in front of Mrs. Maule. Now watch. When I signal to her...
My God! For heaven's sake!
I hope it hasn't splashed onto your trousers. No, good. Oh, don't bother about the mess on the carpet. Mrs. Maule will fetch a cloth. A cloth, Mrs. Maule.
A single note. And it broke the teacup.
It's one of my favorite little parlor tricks.
A question of vibration, I suppose, of hitting the exact pitch.
Remember the trumpets that brought down the wall of Jericho? Well, no doubt you'd like to unpack. We dine at 6:30.
Half past 6 on the dot. He believes in punctuality, Mr. Scale. Blast. I didn't come up this passage. Stupid. I must have turned left instead of right. No, I don't remember a lot of pictures on the wall. Oh, hell, it won't do to be late on my first night.
My name is Miriam. My name is Miriam. Miriam. They
Hello?
call me Miriam.
I can't find the dining room.
Miriam.
The door seems to be locked.
Miriam.
My name is Spinrobin.
My name is Miriam.
I'm the new assistant.
Miriam.
Oh, for God's sake. Can I speak to you for a moment? Hello?
What are you doing here?
Miriam.
I'm afraid I got lost.
My name
You have no business in my private wing.
I beg your pardon. The fact is, I couldn't find the right passage.
This is impudent, sir.
I'm sorry, but I assure you I was only looking for the dining
You
room.
are not to wander about the house. You are not to enter any of my personal apartments. Is that clear?
Yes, of course. I would never dream of offending you. I apologize.
Are you sincere?
My name is
Can you be trusted?
I hope so.
I warn you, if it happens again, if I discover you in any place where you are not supposed to be, you will leave immediately. We are late for dinner. Follow me, please.
Good evening, Mr. Scale.
My dear, may I present Mr. Robert Spinrobin, Miss Miriam Rayner.
How do you do?
How do you do, Miss Rayner?
The weather has been very pleasant today.
Yes, Yes, indeed.
Have you just arrived in Pentoin?
This afternoon.
And are you a stranger to the area, as I am?
Yes.
Take that chair, Mr. Spinrobin.
Thank you.
I must tell Mrs. Moore we are ready to eat.
Does it strike you as odd?
I beg your pardon?
Why does he have to go out of the room and summon the housekeeper? Surely he has a bell, some method of ringing for service.
But the poor woman is deaf.
Oh. Oh. How long have you been here?
A week. The house is comfortable. And Mr. Scale himself has been extremely kind.
Did he meet you at the station and insist on walking 5 miles over the mountains?
No, certainly not. There was a pony and trap.
You were favoured. I found myself marched uphill and down dale and then asked to sing in the open air.
Oh, yes. He tested my voice out in the open, too.
Why, do you suppose? Is this some new method of calling the cattle home?
Shush. He'll come back.
What brought you to Pentoin?
I answered a rather strange advertisement.
So did I.
Mr. Scale wanted a young soprano with courage, imagination, and some knowledge of Hebrew.
In mine, he asked for a secretarial assistant with a good tenor voice and, well, yes, the same words, courage and imagination.
Oh.
Miss Rayner, quickly, before he reappears, have you found out what the work is?
No. It has to do with music, obviously. We rehearse certain notes hour after hour.
Do you speak Hebrew?
A little. Unfortunately, it's modern Hebrew. He showed me a manuscript written in longhand. It's very old, I imagine. I couldn't make anything of it.
Was he upset?
Briefly.
He is the most extraordinary man.
He's elderly, perhaps a little eccentric.
Not to say short-tempered. I got off to a bad start. He lost his temper completely when he found me. By the way, why did you hide?
I don't follow you, Mr. Spinrobin.
You were in a locked room. I heard your voice, but you wouldn't answer.
I'm sorry. When was this?
Just before dinner, in the East Wing.
I was in a locked
You
room.
kept repeating your name. Miriam, Miriam, Miriam.
There must be a mistake. For 2 hours before dinner, I was resting in the North Wing.
But no, that's impossible. I heard you clearly as I do now. The voice was yours,
Mr.
crying
Spinrobin,
Miriam.
why on earth should I lock myself in a room and repeat my own name?
I can't imagine. All the same, I'm prepared to swear.
We are ready at last. Now, will you take red or white wine, Miss Rayner? I believe the fish to be halibut.
That was a delicious meal, Mr. Scale.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Some more coffee?
Oh, please.
And Spinrobin?
Oh, thank you, yes.
Good. Now, you'll have to excuse me. I have a great deal of work to do tonight. No doubt you young people can entertain each other. There are cards, chess, or use the piano, unless you're altogether weary of music. Good night. We shall meet in the morning.
Good night, Mr. Scale.
Pleasant dreams. A word with you, Spinrobin, if you don't mind.
Certainly, sir.
Well?
Sir?
Oh, come along. You think her beautiful?
Very much so. Yes, remarkably beautiful.
The eyes are fine, don't you agree? And the voice, a pleasing, gentle tone.
She seems a most attractive young lady.
Do you love her?
Mr. Scale.
You must love her. It is extremely important that you love her. I shall see you tomorrow. Sleep well. Sleep well.
Upon my word. Oh, really, this is too much. The man must be slightly mad. Miss Rayner.
Yes.
During the past week, forgive me, have you found our host impertinent, difficult, or troublesome in any way?
Why, no. In no way whatsoever.
You can rely on my absolute discretion.
But I assure you, Mr. Scale has been utterly polite and courteous. He works long hours and expects you to do the same.
You took the job on trust from an advertisement. Was that entirely wise?
You did the same, I believe.
Are your parents alive?
No. My family came from Russia. They were killed during a riot in 1904. I was brought to England by friends.
I see, yes. Of course, and you speak Hebrew.
Not well enough for Mr. Scale. I fear I was a grievous disappointment to him.
He expected you to make a translation.
He had this document. Heaven knows where it came from.
Did you understand any of it?
A little. Oh, it was far too learned. A kind of essay full of scientific words. I found myself totally at a loss.
But could you follow the subject?
It was about sound. Shall we go into the drawing room? I think Mrs. Moore wants to clear the table.
One moment. He said nothing about the arrangements, when we are supposed to meet. Mrs. Moore?
No, wait till she can see you. Remember, she can't hear you. But if she can see you, she can lip read.
Excuse me, Mrs. Moore. Do you happen to know what time we start work tomorrow?
You must trust him.
Yes, of course. But what time?
I have given him my complete trust. He is a very great man.
I'm sure. Could you just tell me?
There has to be trust between us. Trust. Trust.
Let me, Mrs. Moore, what we want to know is...
You are very beautiful. I am not jealous of you. You are here for a purpose. You are necessary. But you cannot take my place.
Good morning, Miss Rayner.
Good morning.
There should be a fine view of the mountains, but the mist is spoiling it. Have you had breakfast?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Breakfast.
I've been up for hours.
What are you looking at?
It seems incredible. Look, up there. Can you see?
Good God, it's scale.
It is, isn't it? I'm not mistaken. I've been watching the figure. He's been clambering about on the roof for the last 10 minutes.
Fantastic. Look, he's moving like a goat along the parapet. He's got some kind of tools and wiring.
It's not safe. He might fall. Oh, call out. Tell him to come down.
Better not. It's his affair, and if you distract his attention, there might be an accident.
But what's he doing?
I can't imagine. Some kind of repair work to the slate.
Oh, he's on the ladder now.
Did you sleep well?
No. The moonlight troubled me. And there was a curious humming noise.
You heard it too?
At one point, I left my room, and I had the greatest difficulty finding it again. The corridors seemed to waver, become distorted somehow.
Oh, you were half asleep.
Yes, I expect so.
Good morning.
Oh.
Good morning. Beautiful day. We start rehearsals at 10 o'clock.
We saw you on the roof.
Yes, it will be essential to have amplifiers. It must reach the highest possible pitch. I thought a loudspeaker at every corner.
Mr. Scale, you advertised for 2 assistants. What are we doing here?
We are creating sound, Mr. Spinrobin. That sound that lies at the root of all creation.
There was a dreadful humming noise during the night.
Is it an experiment?
Are you so impatient, so greedy for knowledge? Well, why not? You're young. Come along.
Mr. Scale.
Come. Follow me. Here we are. You must wait outside for a moment.
Now, where's he gone?
Good Lord. I know this corridor. It's where I got lost.
It's where you thought you heard my voice. Listen.
I know this corridor. It's where I got lost.
It's where you thought you heard my voice.
This is monstrous.
What's happening? I don't understand.
This is monstrous.
What's happening? I don't understand.
What the devil is he playing at?
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
What the devil is he playing at?
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Are you amazed? A miracle, my children. Behold, I have you trapped in my machine. I hold the basic essence of your being. Your voice belongs to me forever.
It's some kind of recording machine, such as Mr. Edison.
Oh, you think so, indeed?
It's quite simple, Miss Rayner. Don't be alarmed. Mr. Edison invented this device some years ago now.
He did not. Neither the phonograph, which was invented by Edison, nor the gramophone, which was invented in the same year by Berliner, bears any comparison to my discovery. My method of trapping sound waves is unique, instantaneous, permanent, and unique.
Really? Can we examine it?
Why? It would convey nothing to your mind. You call it a gramophone? Yes, in a way you are right. But how absurd that man has held this power in his hand for years and been unable to use it. He has possessed the ultimate secret, yet faced with God's miracle, all he could say was, "Mary had a little lamb." Ha, ha, ha.
I don't understand you.
The first words recorded in sound. Mary had a little lamb.
Bah, 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 the ultimate absurdity of life.
You have some plan, I suppose. You mean to give a public demonstration.
Oh, yes, Mr. Spinrobin. Oh, yes. Well, I have satisfied your curiosity. Now, shall we go down to the music room? There is work to be done.
I'm sorry, could you give me my note again?
Now, hold it. Now, let it die softly. And once more. That is better. Miss Rayner, are you ready? Yes, you'll need more volume when the time comes, but for the moment that will serve. And both notes together now, if you please. Right, rest for a second. Right, are you with me? So. Progress.
It might help if we had any notion of what you were trying to do.
We are searching for the exact sound, Mr. Spinrobin, and do not despair. Before long we shall find it. I think we might introduce the contralto now. Excuse me. I will fetch her.
Chord, I wonder. We're on the brink of war. Why not the national anthem?
Is he a patriot?
He talks mostly of mankind. I don't believe he's aware of anything but his own scientific program. I wish I could get a look at that machine.
Don't go wandering around the house again, please.
I'm uneasy. I really think we must find out what he's doing.
You can't. He locked the door.
Have you got a key to your bedroom? I have. Keys are often interchangeable. Give me yours and I can try both.
Robert, for heaven's sake,
I shall be careful.
You can't. You mustn't. There's something odd about this house after dark. It's the wrong shape.
What on earth do you mean? Material objects don't change shape. It's simply a question of remembering where everything is.
Last night...
You were half asleep. I've counted the landings, the floors. I shall know exactly where to go.
Have you got a lamp?
No.
Then we shall have to rely on candles.
I'm going alone.
We can hardly light the gas brackets on the landing. That would most certainly arouse suspicion.
I don't want you to come with me.
Robert, it would be safer. Then if he surprises you, we can pretend we had a romantic assignation. Or no. No, perhaps not. He might be profoundly shocked.
I doubt it.
He's a clergyman.
He's a dabbler in scientific theory. And don't you get the impression the man is throwing us together on purpose?
Oh, that would be foolish.
Yes.
We have, after all, a very slight acquaintance, a couple of strangers. Why should he want to...
Play Cupid?
It would be presumptuous.
It would indeed.
Robert? Robert?
Yes, quietly.
Are we on the right land?
Yes. I remember the oil painting. A landscape and one dark enormous tree.
There are so many doors. Oh, it would be awful and humiliating to open a door and come face to face with... What was that?
Only the clock.
Is this the room beyond doubt?
I took a small precaution. I scratched a mark on the paintwork before we left, and... Yes. Oh, hold the candle up. Yes, there it is. Now.
The door's locked, as I told you.
I've got 4 or 5 keys. I found a couple in his study.
Oh, that's surely theft.
Most of these are going to be too small.
I brought my bedroom key. Oh!
What in God's name?
It's some kind of alarm system inside the room. Come away.
Wait.
He may be in there.
Without a light. We should see a gleam under the edge of the door. Yes. I believe this key may fit.
Robert, I'm frightened.
Yes. If I can force it just a little further.
The passage walls. changing shape.
It's an illusion, a trick of the candles. The shadows flicker and deceive your eyes. And wait, it's turning. I'll have it open in a second. Damnation!
What happened?
Something pushed the key out from the other side.
Robert!
No, I'm clumsy. Stupid of me. I must have dropped it. Give me the candle. Oh, is it gone?
I can feel the air vibrating. Robert, please!
Quiet! There has to be a reason. Oh, my God!
What is it?
Look! Crawling through the keyhole. Can't you see? Is it some kind of insect? Miriam! For pity's sake! Don't fall!
Let go of
Lean
me.
against the wall! The candle will go out. Keep still. You'll push us both over the banisters.
You saw it too?
What?
That thing squeezing through the locket had a human face.
No!
I tell you, Robert!
I have to save. Be calm.
Can't you hear a moving by the skirting board? A scratching noise.
It's nothing. Wait. Wait, I can make the shape out now. It's larger than an insect. Perhaps a mouse.
But it's getting bigger all the time.
Shadows. Nothing but shadows.
Look at the face. Dear God, it is a man.
We've got to get downstairs. It's just an hallucination. Don't be frightened.
He's coming after us.
Miriam!
Don't let it catch me.
Is this nothing but a trick? We're imagining some horror.
Any door.
We can't. Most of them are locked. Just find the staircase. Round the corner. May I come in?
Robert.
Good morning. I hope you'll forgive me. I had to come. I was so desperately anxious. Have you recovered?
A dream?
No.
Robert, what happened last night?
You lost your footing on the landing and fell.
Before that, this is not a time for reassuring platitudes. There was a figure.
Very small, and then larger, and then it swelled to enormous proportions, blocking the whole passage.
And I'm right, aren't I?
Yes.
It was scale.
We must think logically, calmly if possible. There was a locked door and a sound vibrating through the air.
Robert, everything changed shape, which is not possible.
Listen, however difficult, it seems to me we must find some method of questioning the housekeeper.
She can't help us.
There's nobody else.
There she is. Oh, it's all so ordinary, so absurd. She's in the garden picking roses.
Shall I try to get through to her, or will you?
A squat old lady in an apron. Oh, yes, do try. You can pitch your voice better.
Good morning, Mrs. Maule. You know Mr. Scale so well. Can you tell us what his experiment is? The experiment. What is the purpose of it?
Yes, it is a pleasant day.
Have you seen his recording machine?
I agree.
Mrs. Maule, there is a locked room with a machine in it. What does it do?
We must work harder. There is very little time.
Can you hear me?
He is a great man. I am glad you appreciate his work. He is a very great man.
This is hopeless. Is she really stone deaf, I wonder, or just evasive?
You must never betray him. He is the hope of the world. I have stayed with him through every disaster. I shall be with him even if you go.
Mrs. Maule.
Don't betray him.
Please, let go of my arm.
How pretty you are. But I cannot be replaced. I can move where no one else can even enter. He needs me. Do you understand that?
Yes, it's quite all right.
Accident gave me the power. Isn't that odd? Chance destroys and chance creates. But don't go, promise me you won't go, not before the final moment.
What are you expecting to happen?
Yes, soon. soon.
What are you expecting?
There's Scale in the doorway.
Have you been watching?
He's coming this way.
No. No, I don't want to meet him. No, please, I couldn't.
Don't be foolish. We can't just turn our back.
Good morning. I fear you have been wasting your time. It's utterly useless to cross-examine my housekeeper.
Mr. Scale, both Miss Rayner and myself received a considerable shock last night. I demand an explanation.
So do I. You were attempting to force a locked door.
You know?
Naturally.
Then it was you.
Yes.
This lady has been very badly frightened.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Are you prepared? Can you accept the knowledge I alone can give you?
I want the truth.
The truth is a shattered glass. The truth is a wall crumbling before the people of Jericho. In that instant, sound penetrates between the molecules and alters the shape of matter. I simplify. I reduce a scientific principle to fit the little confines of your mind.
But you became tiny.
And then immense. I regret the horror it appeared to cause you. I'd already set the machine, could not alter the range. I did indeed pursue you, but you continued in headlong flight.
It was terrifying.
All power strikes terror into the heart of the ignorant.
What do you want of us?
Your voices. Nothing else. Better, but not right. I'm not getting the purity I need.
Mr. Scale! We have been rehearsing all day.
So, are you tired? Oh, well, well. You may rest for 5 minutes. Excuse me.
He has gone to the machine room.
You don't believe in his machine?
Do you?
We saw him change. The plan is grotesque, amplifying a chord through these great trumpets on the roof. And yet, the world is full of legends. Orpheus could move inanimate objects, and so could the Scandinavian god Odin. The notion of influencing the material world by music is very old.
But impossible.
Is it? People will march into hell if the tune is compelling enough.
All right, I agree that music does have the power to move us. But what I question is this changing the very shape of things with sound.
Look at Mrs. Moore. Look at her hands. One is much bigger than the other, monstrous, puffy. The other is tiny, with little shrunken fingers and a ring tight against the knuckle.
Oh, what can have happened to her?
I can't imagine.
Ask him.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that.
A simple question.
So, shall we continue?
Forgive me. It's discourteous and I have no right to ask. But what is the matter with your housekeeper?
She is deaf.
From birth.
I can be frank among friends. In the early stages of my experiment, I advertised for an assistant, a young girl. Unfortunately, one test miscarried, leaving her frame distorted and the senses impaired.
She became deaf and crippled.
A tragedy, I admit it. But being deaf, Eleanor Mole can work in the recording room. She can use the machine at frequencies which none of us could tolerate. I found it enormously useful. Even disaster brings its own compensations. Now, a little sherry wine before we start.
Thank you.
This is quite appalling.
It was an accident.
In other words, his damned machine can go wrong.
Been Robin?
The same, thanks.
Why in heaven's name did she stay after such a ghastly experience?
Oh, haven't you guessed? She's in love with him.
But after such devastating injury... Miriam, I think we should have no more to do with his bogus science. The man is dangerous.
Yes.
We could leave tomorrow. Let's tell him.
Robert, he'll be so angry.
I'll deal with it. Be calm.
Your glass, Miss Rayner, spin Robin.
Thank you.
And let us drink to peace and the harmony of all mankind.
Mr. Scale?
Come in. Still awake, Mr. Spinrobin? You keep late hours.
I wanted to speak to you privately.
Hmm?
If you remember, sir, we were engaged on a 4-week trial.
We?
Miss Rayner and myself. I'm sorry, we find the work unsuitable and we propose to leave.
No.
I hope it won't inconvenience you too much.
No.
The terms are quite clear. I can show you the letter.
What have you done? What mischief are you planning? What have you said to that girl?
She simply wants to go home.
You have betrayed
The place
me.
is too isolated.
You are not to go. I need your voices. You will stay till the experiment is finished.
That will not be possible. Is there a train from Pentuin?
Are you afraid?
Not in the least.
You should be, Mr. Spinropin. You should be.
There is no way you can compel us to stop here. We came in good faith for a trial period.
You await my judgment. Now listen. Listen. Come nearer. You're confused. You fail to grasp the immensity of our purpose. Why do the nations so furiously rage together? Consider that boy. We stand at a perilous moment. We're on the edge of outer darkness. The abyss is opening at our feet. And it is now I have been given the power, the revelation. I have been chosen to alter the very form of mankind.
I realize you have some form of...
I hold the secret of creation. Do you doubt me? In the beginning was the word was a sound echoing through space. Now we must find the exact vibration, the one chord to mold the universe into a single harmony.
Suppose your theory is wrong.
No, I shall not offer scientific proof. You're not a scientist, yet even a man such as yourself might believe the evidence of his own eyes. I've demonstrated my power.
The first experiment went wrong.
Yes. Sound can distort and damage the atomic construction of the molecule. What of it? My basic premise holds. Remember the ancient wisdom, Spinropin. The old civilizations, they knew. According to legend, the spheres sang in their courses. Do you realize the importance of that? They sang. The heavenly bodies sang.
Forgive me.
Of course. You are tired. The day has been too long. I'm not angry with you. Sleep and dream. And when the time comes, the earth will split, and the shudder of sound will rush out across the valley. Look here for yourself. The great curve of the Pentuin Mountains, they will act as a sounding board, throwing our voices to the sky. The noise will spread in rings around the world, and the sea shall rise up in thunder.
This is absurd.
Spinropin, wait!
I'm sorry.
I trusted you.
I'm afraid we shall have to leave early, Mr. Scale.
No! Come back. You're not to go. You must stay. Stay and play your appointed role.
That is impossible.
Judas!
We have no choice.
No! I cannot be opposed by fools!
Goodbye, Mr. Scale.
Robert?
Can you be packed and ready to leave at dawn?
Why then?
He has refused to let us go.
But we must. Robert, please.
Take as little as possible. We shall have to walk across the mountain.
Do you remember the way?
I think so. Oh, my dear. You will have to trust me.
Of course.
We dare not wait till morning. I think the man is mad. You have strong shoes and a warm coat?
Yes.
Good. He should be asleep by 2 o'clock. Wait till you are certain Mrs. Maule has put out the gas brackets. She works late. You should hear the clock on the landing strike. Meet me in the hall at 2:30.
It's dreadfully cold. The mist clings to you.
Keep to the path.
It's so difficult to tell which is the path and which are just sheep tracks.
I know. Stay close to me.
Yes, it would be the final folly to lose each other.
Or break an ankle. And that's easily done on these stones.
Oh.
Be careful.
Oh, what's that?
Some great bird.
If you stop, you can hear the mountains stirring about you.
We must get on.
Will he come after us, do you think?
Hardly. Are you all right?
I'm tired. My chest hurts.
Breathe slowly, evenly. The air's thin up here.
How far is it?
I'm not sure. 5 miles. He said 5 miles.
When we get there, will the station be open at
Almost
this hour?
certainly not. We shall have to wait. But it may be possible to get inside, to find some kind of shelter.
He could surprise us on the platform if we have to wait for hours.
My dear, once we get to Pentuin, there will be a station master. There will be a porter. There might even be a passenger. He can hardly drag us back in front of witnesses.
He might try.
The most he can do is to...
Don't sheep always sound eerie?
It's almost light now.
You do remember where we are?
Yes, I came up here with Scale. Once we get on a little, we should see the station below us. I think it was to the left.
You lose all sense of direction when you're suddenly surrounded by curtains of mist. The path keeps disappearing.
I can feel a breeze. That should clear the air. Ah, the boulders are coming into view. That's better. Yes, we've done it, Miriam. I can make out the roof. Oh, my God.
What's wrong?
That isn't the station. We've come full circle. That is the roof of Scales' house. Miriam, no. Miriam, don't. Miriam.
And the sun's beginning to flood over the mountains. We might as well be spotless.
Keep still. He doesn't know where we are. He can't see us.
That man can see everything.
No. What is he? An elderly clergyman who dabbles in science?
Sunrise and the world changing shape.
Sit down. Rest. Nothing has happened. I took the wrong path in the dark. Presently we can turn round and try again.
Oh, Robert, I can't walk anymore. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Hush. Hush. Lie back in my arms. We have plenty of time.
What's that?
Calm yourself.
Listen. Oh, dear God! Run!
No, listen to me. It is quite impossible for Scale to see us. Don't stand up all the same in case he has field glasses. We'll lie flat on the ground behind the boulders. There is no danger, Miriam.
He's getting nearer to us.
No, he's not.
But I can hear him so clearly.
He's shouting through the loud hailers on the roof. Lie still. You are quite safe.
Silence.
He's given up.
Where are you going?
Not far. Just to this ledge.
Oh, Robert, don't leave me. Robert, please.
You can see the house from here. Some kind of wire construction all over the roof. I wonder if... Good God.
What is it?
Scale is driving down the road in his pony and trap. He's gone to look for us at the station.
Frightened.
Listen. You came by road. How long did it take?
I'm frightened.
Miriam, how long did it take to reach the house by road from the station?
It curved a great deal. It made wide detours. We had to follow the bend of the river.
So it's more than 5 miles by road? Yes. Yes, of course. That's why he walks across the mountain. Did it take an hour? Longer?
I forget. Perhaps 3/4 of an hour. I don't remember.
Good. Then he has to leave the trap. Look for us, question the railway staff, and drive back again. Why, we might have 2 hours.
To do what? We'll never escape in broad daylight.
We can do better. We can destroy that infernal machine.
No. For pity's sake,
The house is empty.
Mrs. Moore.
A deaf woman, a cripple, she can't stop us.
No, but why should we take the risk?
Because the man is dangerous. He has stumbled on some appalling elemental force, and while the machine exists, we shall never be safe.
We might get help from the village.
And who is going to believe us? 2 strangers with a wild story?
But we can't do anything alone.
Why not? What did Scale ask for in his advertisement? Courage and imagination. Come on!
Can you see Mrs. Moore?
She's probably in the kitchen. And remember, she can't hear a sound.
Robert.
Keep back. Flat against the wall. Quiet.
What's happening?
She's putting a coat on. It's all right. She's going into the garden.
Are you positive?
Yes. Up the stairs. Fast. Here we are. Here's the scratch I made on the door.
Locked. Well, it would be. This is madness. What can we do?
Break the lock.
Stop, Robert. You can't. We'll be heard.
Heard by whom?
It's no use. Oh, let's go. We can walk to the station along the
And
road.
come face to face with Scale driving back? Miriam, he's capable of any violence. No, this devilish contraption has got to be smashed.
You'll never get into the room.
He must have tools somewhere in the house. A hammer, a chisel. We saw him putting those loudspeakers on the roof.
Don't leave me. Where are you going?
Stay there.
What about the housekeeper?
Stay there on the landing. You should be able to see from the window. Is she still outside?
Yes. Yes, I can see her.
Call me the moment she starts moving back towards the house.
She's got a basket with her. She's going away into the rose garden.
Good.
Robert!
All right.
Yes. But hurry!
Can you see the road from where you are?
Part of it, yes.
What's that, too? We don't want to be caught by Scale coming back.
Have you found the tool cupboard?
Yes. Where's the woman now?
Far in the distance. A little squat figure picking roses. It looks so absurdly normal. The mountains and the valley and a woman picking roses.
Now, let's have a crack at that blasted lock.
You're making too much noise.
It doesn't matter.
There could be someone else in the house.
There isn't. Now, stand back. This might fly into a lot of splinters. Got it!
Oh, Robert. Oh, God, we can't go in there.
Why not? Stay in the passage if you like.
No. I'd rather follow you.
Dear Lord. It's fantastic. A great web of metal. Sheets of silver and wheels to the ceiling and wires crisscrossing the wall. Just smash it. Smash it anywhere.
No, wait. That's dangerous. There might be an electric current.
Damn. Yes, I know nothing about electrical power.
Could you start a fire? It might be safer to burn the thing.
No, it's metal. You couldn't be sure of doing enough damage before they put it out. Wait. It must be possible to disconnect the main source of energy. Now, yes, there's a switch high up in the corner. That must be it.
Can you reach?
No. Pull that chair over. Now, hold it steady. I'll have to stand on it. Good. Nearly there. Got it.
Careful.
Blast!
Did you hurt yourself?
No. Sorry, I slipped.
Robert, listen.
What is it? Oh, my God! I must have turned it on somehow.
Switch it off! Now! No, Robert, switch it off!
I can't reach!
Make it stop!
I can't!
I can't stand the noise!
Take my hand and run! We've got to get away. Beyond the mountain.
But the sound is coming from the mountain. There's an echo.
Cover your ears and keep running.
Robert! Scale is coming down the road. Oh, God, he's seen us.
Faster!
I can't manage it.
Get away from us!
What in God's name have you done?
The machine. Stop the machine.
Fools! Stupid, meddling fools!
He'll never get back inside the house.
No, but Mrs. Moore can. She's there, look, in the garden.
Eleanor! Eleanor!
Oh, why doesn't she move?
She can't hear him.
But she must. She's got to. She's the only hope.
Eleanor! Eleanor!
Dear Lord, she's just standing there, looking at Scale and smiling.
Oh, Robert, the sound is getting louder.
Lights out on the ground.
It's unbearable. I shall go mad. The mountains are all picking up the sound. Oh, my God. Mountains are changing shape.
Don't think of it, Miriam. That was weeks ago. It's over. Finished.
It still haunts me. And what I remember most, Mrs. Moore quite calmly picking flowers while all hell went on around us. And the way she turned and smiled at Scale and gave him a rose.
The house literally exploded. They didn't have a chance, poor devils.
Oh, but they died together. That's the point.
Will you be in for dinner, Mr. Spinrobin?
Miriam?
Yes, if that's all right.
Yes, we'll both be, thank you, Mrs. Judd.
It was good of Mrs. Judd to find me a room.
It seemed the best solution for the moment.
Odd how long the nightmare takes to fade. Scale and his lunatic plans for changing the shape of the world.
It doesn't matter now. Kiss me.
One universal harmony. There's no question we were right to destroy the machine.
Of course we were. Kiss me.
His talk of unity. A single chord. He could have done a great deal of evil. He was dangerous.
Yes, the machine had to be destroyed.
Because we saw the damage with the wrong experiment, the wrong sound.
But now we can build a future together. Oh, my dear. Now we can live in peace.
Mr. Spinrobin? Oh, I am sorry, but have you heard the news?
What news?
The armies are on the march, Mr. Spinrobin. We're at war.
That was The Human Chord by Sheila Hodgson, based on the novel by Albion Blackwood, with Andrew Sear as Robert Spinrobin, Heather Bell as Miriam, and Arnold Diamond as the Reverend Philip Scale. Mrs. Maule was played by Gwen Cherrill, Mrs. Judd by Avril Clark, and Mr. Judd by Brian Smith. The play was directed by David Johnston.
The Price of Fear is a horror mystery radio serial produced for radio between 1973 and 1983. The host and star of the show was Vincent Price. This show stands out in Price's radio career as some of the episodes are based on fictional adventures of Vincent Price himself, in which Price plays himself, while others have him merely introducing the macabre tale of the week.
The Price of Fear, brought to you by Vincent Price.
Hello there. You might be aware that as an actor, I've become associated almost entirely with what are known as horror movies. Personally, I don't think that description is quite adequate. I prefer to think of them purely and simply as fantasies, because they are, you know. They just couldn't happen, however vivid your imagination might be. In fact, there are far more macabre or even horrific events happening all around us every day of our lives, but we're just not aware of them. On my travels making movies in all parts of the world, men and women from various walks of life somehow always seem to manage to seek me out and to tell me their own strange experiences, and sometimes even I've been present when some of these frightening events have actually occurred. And now here I am with an opportunity to tell you a few of these stories, sometimes horrific, sometimes with a macabre sense of humor, but always, I promise you, containing the element of fear. And I've titled them, if you'll pardon the liberty, The Price of Fear. Now, my first story, which I've called Remains to be Seen, I only heard about much later, but the details were recounted in such vivid terms by one of the principal characters involved, and I'll leave you to guess which one it was, that I almost felt that I was there. It concerns two men, neighbors, with like interests and a similar problem. Their interests were innocent enough, gardening and chess. But the problem they shared, well, was, shall we say, not quite as simple and not as easily solved.
Albert! Albert, where are you?
Emily Warren would hardly have omitted informing her husband, Albert, that they had recently acquired new neighbors. But at the same time, knowing Emily, she'd also probably contributed her own foregone opinion of them, either scathing, contemptuous, or both. In any event, it wasn't until some weeks after the newcomer's arrival that Albert actually became aware of them. It was a fine day in early spring, and Albert was digging in his beloved garden when the voice came to him across the low wicker fence that divided his domain from his neighbor's.
Good morning. You're going to have a nice show there.
Oh, good morning.
My name's Fred Treber. We're your new neighbors. At least not new, it's just that, well, this is the first time we got round to introducing ourselves properly.
A shortish, rotund figure, Fred Treber, offered his flabby pink hand.
My wife, Alice, that is, did try to pay a social call on one occasion. She got no answer.
Sorry about that, but we must have been out.
But even as he said it, Albert knew the excuse must have sounded feeble. Emily had probably simply assessed her caller from behind the cover of the curtains and decided that social intercourse with their new neighbors was not to be encouraged. Anyway, Albert rubbed his hands on his dungarees and took Fred's hand in his own. Fred nodded towards the flower bed Albert had been tending.
They're amber Goliaths, aren't they?
Why, yes, they are.
The number of people among Albert's acquaintances who knew anything about dahlias at all could be counted on one hand. But a man who could actually recognize a specific strain before it had even come into bloom was obviously a force to be reckoned with. Fred took in Albert's immaculately tended flower beds, the precision cut of the lawn, and then looked towards his own wilderness.
Lot of work to be done here, of course. The last crowd. Still, gardening isn't everybody's cup of tea, is it?
No. They didn't seem to take much interest.
Do you play chess?
What?
Oh, you needn't even bother to answer that one. Show me a well-ordered garden, and 9 times out of 10, I'll show you a man who plays chess.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But I do, as a matter of fact. If you like.
Yes?
Only that if you'd care to have a game sometime.
I'd like that very much. Alice doesn't take any interest, and being strangers to the neighborhood.
Tell you what, then. If you're not doing anything this Thursday, you might care to come along to our local chess forum.
Oh, it sounds very grand, way out of my league.
Nothing of the kind. Just a dozen or so of us. We meet up each week. The odd game, perhaps a drink or two afterwards. We usually kick off about 7.
Fred? Fred?
Albert was aware of the crash of a window and Alice's frizzled red head emerging. Even at this distance, henna was obviously the order of the day.
How many more times do I have to call you?
No peace for the wicked, eh?
Your lunch has been on the table for at least 5 minutes. So don't blame me if it's cold again. Well, what are you doing down there anyway?
Just a chat, Alice, my love.
Should have thought you've got something better to do.
Wives. You know what they are.
Wives? Oh, yes, I know what they are, all right.
Till Thursday, then. About 6.
Albert? For heaven's sake, Albert.
6 will be fine.
6, let it be, then.
And 6 on the dot it was. Except that Albert wasn't quite ready for him. That is to say, he thought he was ready until Emily decided to point out
the collar of that shirt's beginning to fray. And Albert, those shoes, they could do with a rub over. And who's ever heard of anyone wearing a polka dot tie with a striped shirt, anyway?
Oh, dear. Shan't keep you long, Fred.
No hurry. I'm sure Emily will do a good job of entertaining me. Won't you, Emily? Don't mind me calling you Emily, do you?
Not more than a couple of minutes.
Don't forget to wash behind your ears, old fellow.
A cup of coffee, Mr. Treber?
Never touch the stuff. Caffeine, you know. Murder on the stomach. Not to mention the nerves. Da-da-dum-dee-dee.
Oh, you're admiring my painting.
Painting?
It's a very good copy, don't you think?
Not at all bad as repros go.
Repro?
Oh, yes, there is a difference.
Oh?
A copy is made by an artist, a repro by a machine. The one is alive by the very nature of it having been copied, the other dead by the very nature of it having been...
Reproed?
You've got it. Bit busy, though, isn't it?
Oh?
Bruegel always was, of course. Busy minds make busy scenes, don't you agree?
Bruegel?
Bruegel, Jan. 1569 to 1642.
You know a lot about art.
Nothing at all. Only the facts. Alice, my wife, that is, invested in this encyclopedia thing, you see. Never opened it herself, but the bindings are impressive, I'll grant you. Every home should have one. You know the kind of thing.
Oh, yes, we have a simply splendid
Oh, yes. First thing I noticed as I came in. It's all facts, isn't it? Only facts. Nothing about what the man thought or felt or suffered. Only what he did.
All set, then?
Who is for chess, then?
Fred Treber's chess wasn't exactly up to grandmaster standards. In fact, he freely admitted.
Self-taught. Never read a book on the subject in my life. As for all this classic opening gambit stuff you go on about, Albert, well, I'll never get that into my head, and that's for sure.
But for all his good-humored modesty, he had a natural, almost reckless flair for the game, so that as loser pays, Albert usually found himself buying the drinks. The conversation on these occasions was inevitably of the small-talk variety. It wasn't until a month after their first evening together that Fred suddenly took it into his head to change all that, and the audacity of it left Albert gasping.
She really did give you a roasting last night, didn't she? I mean, even more than usual, I mean. Really excelled herself.
I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course you do. Your sweet Emily is what I'm talking about. What was it all about, anyway? Just things in general? Or did you actually commit the cardinal sin of forgetting to put the cat out?
I really don't know what...
But you do, our Albert. You seem to forget that apart from putting out comfortable suburban villas within spitting distance of each other, the architect must have had something going for paper-thin walls. Pour milk on your cereal, or turn to the sports page, and it's like you were doing it at our breakfast table instead of your own.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, don't be. Every time your sweet Emily gives you a bawling out, I'm grateful.
I wish you'd stop calling her that.
Well, not so sweet Emily, then.
Why should you be grateful?
Why? Because my not-so-sweet Alice is so busy bending her ear trying to tune into your latest misdemeanor, it gives me a temporary respite from her own scolding tongue. How did you come to marry her in the first place, anyway?
Who? Emily?
Don't tell me you've got another shrew tucked away somewhere. You don't have to tell me.
It just happened. We both worked for the same firm, Marshall Paper Products. I was senior accountant, and Emily...
A plodding typist?
How did you know?
It's the classic situation, isn't it? Switch firms and you've got Alice and me to a T.
Plain, quiet, subdued. Not bright, mind. A conversation seldom went beyond the weather.
I bet she only ever read the newspapers on alternate days.
You're probably right. But then, well, I was getting on a bit. Always did feel there was something to be said for a marriage being an arrangement, not a romance.
And so you marry them. And are surprised to find your plain, quiet, subdued woman can turn into a shrew overnight. Have another drink.
I don't think we ought to. The wives will be expecting us.
Which is exactly why we're going to. This time it's on me. 2 of the same, please.
While they waited for their drinks, no word was spoken. And yet, out of their silence, there seemed to grow a new understanding. An understanding at once sympathetic and, to a degree, conspiratorial. They were like two men who had come to terms with the fact that they faced a common enemy. It was a recognition that Albert would have preferred not to acknowledge, so that when the drinks eventually arrived, he did his best to refute it.
Thanks. About what you were saying, Fred.
About what we were saying, Albert.
We then.
Well, what?
Well, things could have turned out a damn sight worse for the pair of us, you know.
With the left on the shelf bit, you mean? We should be so lucky.
All right. So we both thought we were marrying one kind of person and ended up
marrying another and wishing to God we hadn't.
Well, we're not exactly Gregory Peck, are we?
No.
I mean, it's a damn sight better than being left out in the cold altogether. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, all things considered, wouldn't you?
Fred did not reply. His eyes remained averted. But Albert was disconcertingly aware of the very faintest of smiles at the corner of his lips.
Damn it all, man, wouldn't you? I mean, any port in a storm, as the saying goes.
Oh, all very well for mariners caught up in a storm and making a last-ditch stand, I grant you. But we don't happen to be in their exact predicament, do we, Albert? Not absolutely last-ditch, Albert. For us, there are other possibilities, other alternatives.
And Fred looked up. This time their eyes held, and Albert felt a sinking feeling at the pit of his stomach. Checkmate, game, and match, he thought. And yet the real game was only about to begin. It happened in the early hours of the morning, but Alice Trieber, a natural insomniac anyway, and always on permanent guard duty as far as the Warrens were concerned, was out of bed and staring into the moonlit garden almost before the last tinkle of glass had died away.
Fred! Fred, will you wake up when I'm talking to you?
As if there were any choice.
That crash. It came from the Warrens, all right. One of their fancy French windows with the sound of it.
Burglary, you mean?
Use your head. Burglar would be breaking in, wouldn't he?
Just customary, I believe.
Well, whoever this is, it's Albert. It's him, I tell you. Fred Treble, will you get out of that bed?
All right. But for heaven's sake, it must be 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well?
It looks like Albert, all right.
Well, of course it's Albert.
So?
So why would he be breaking out of his own house? Hey, Fred, I do... Yes, he is. He's struggling with something. Hey, that's why he broke that pane of glass, you see. Struggling to get something through. Can you make it out?
Some kind of box, by the look of it.
Chest. A chest, more like. A large tin chest. Now, whatever would he be... Well, he's dragging it across the terrace now. Oh, do get behind that curtain when I tell you. Do you want him to think we're spying on him?
Well, we are, aren't we?
Well, now, he's dragging it down the terrace steps. Whatever is it?
One hell of a weight, by the look of it.
Well, he's left it there. Right in the middle of the lawn. Hey, he's going into the tool shed. Hey, do you see that? See the way he looked round before he opened the door? Very suspicious. Hey, he's coming out. He's carrying something.
Back to that chest thing by the looks of it.
I do believe it. Yes, it's a shovel. A large, heavy garden shovel. He's digging, Fred. He's digging.
But for Fred and Alice Trieber, the show was over. As silently and dramatically as a curtain falling on a mystery play, a cloud passed across the moon, and the drama being enacted below them in the Warrens' garden was lost to view. They both stood there for a long time, scarcely breathing, but when the cloud had passed and the garden was once again bathed in the moon's ghostly light, there was nothing to be seen. Whatever had happened, was apparently over and done with. But not for Alice Trieber. Let sleeping dogs lie had never been her favorite motto, so that after 3 days without sight or sound of Emily Warren, Alice decided to take matters into her own hands.
I don't care what you think or what you don't think, Fred Trieber. 3 whole days, and not a sign of her. As respectable, God-fearing citizens, we've no choice, have we?
But, Alice...
No choice at all.
Come on, Johnson, put your back into it. That's better. Over there, Doris.
But, Mr. Warren, sir, the lady was only doing her duty. Duty? My backside. As she thought fit. Alice Trieber's nothing but a nosy, meddling old busybody. As any law-abiding, conscientious citizen would. And as a result of which, you move in here with your Gestapo and start tearing the place apart. Look at my garden. Took years to lay that lawn. My God, they're starting on my dahlia beds now. Your own doing, I'm afraid, sir. If you'd chosen to cooperate in the first place... Cooperate? I like that. By confessing to an act I didn't even commit, you mean? Let's get it straight, shall we, Inspector? It's not that I'm not all for making your unpleasant duty a little less unpleasant for you, for both of us. But one's got to draw the line somewhere. Your wife is missing, sir. On your own admission, not a sight or sound of her for 3 days. Not since the night the Triebers saw... Thought they saw. What they saw. Then, for God's sake, list her as missing. And get these vandals out of my house and off my property. Oh, you do concede the fact, then? That she's missing? Well, if by missing you mean that she's gone away, that I am at present uncertain of her whereabouts, I concede the fact.
Excuse me, sir.
What is it, Constable?
We finished upstairs, sir.
I'll make a start down here, then. Why not take a peek in the cocktail cabinet? The cellar, Constable.
It's locked, sir.
The key, sir. Mr. Warren, the key. On a nail. The right-hand side of the door. Right. When you've got things going down there, Constable, see if they've come up with anything in the garden.
Right, sir. All right, you lot. Get on with it.
Not a sledgehammer, for God's sake. No, sir. Having conceded the fact that your wife is missing, that she's gone away, how do you account for her absence? I don't. I can't. She simply packed a suitcase during the night and left me. You know, of course, she was very heavily insured. Fairly heavily insured. We both were. But I'm still standing here, aren't I? And that you are the sole beneficiary. It's a fairly common arrangement between husband and wife, I believe. Fairly common. And this blood stain on the carpet, sir, near the window. I've already explained. It's my own. I gashed my hand when I was replacing the broken pane. We can check that, you know. I've no doubt when you finish tearing the house apart and found nothing, you'll eventually get round to it. It's not a very expert job, sir, is it? It needed fixing in a hurry. Oh? I happen to be allergic to draughts. Draughts, sir? What, in high summer? And very susceptible at that.
Sir?
Yes, well, Constable?
Reporting from the garden, sir, they found the trunk. Right in the centre of the lawn, more or less just where the Triebers first indicated. I took the liberty of examining its contents, sir.
And? Well, man?
A dead cat.
What? A dead cat. So, I'm guilty of burying a dead cat. What's the penalty, Inspector? The hangman's noose? A life sentence with no options? You were very evasive, Mr. Warren. At first you denied that you'd buried anything. Because I didn't think it was any of your damn business.
The animal's head had been smashed in, sir.
Mr. Warren? I'm not in the habit of examining dead cats. All right. If you must know, I happen to be allergic to cats as well. The cat was your wife's? Is that significant? It might be. It's my theory, sir, that after you killed your wife, you then killed the cat. Fascinating. And why should I do that? Perhaps because it would always remind you of your wife.
Or perhaps because the creature had witnessed the disposing of the body and might lead us to...
Constable.
Sir?
You'll be up for promotion if you're not careful, Constable. Anything else to report?
Not a thing, sir. Covered everything, the house, top to bottom, garden, end to end.
I see. In that case, we'd better call it a day. Well, we'll naturally be along to make good any damage, Mr. Warren. Thoughtful of you.
But that still doesn't mean I'm convinced.
That you'll be hearing from my solicitor? You should be.
Sorry, Inspector. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, yes, Mr. Trevor. Well, what is it now?
Just, well, a sudden thought. Mr. Warren also has a little place at Lakeside Park.
Oh, Fred.
Pretty spot surrounded by scrub and woodland. And just recently, Mr. Warren mentioned he was laying a lawn. I thought it might...
Of some significance.
Oh, now, look. Not my lawn.
It might indeed, Mr. Trevor. Constable, get the men together.
Right, sir.
Mr. Warren, I have the distinct feeling you'll be hearing from us again. Good day, sir.
Good day.
Did I say something wrong, Albert?
Fred Trevor. I'll never play chess with you again.
That very night, if Alice Trevor hadn't been snoring her head off due to a somewhat potent sleeping draught added to her nightly cup of drinking chocolate, she might have seen the two men crossing her lawn and that of her neighbors. Between them, they carried a somewhat bulky load wrapped in a tarpaulin. The men in question were her own husband, Fred, absent by default, and the highly suspect Albert Warren. The bundle between them, the earthly remains of the much-missed Emily. Arriving at his own house, Albert let them in by the side door, and from there through the kitchen and down the steps that led to his cellar.
Where's the ruddy tongue?
The police have left your cellar looking like a battlefield.
Good idea. Hiding her over at your place, Fred. Smart thinking. But you're sure Alice didn't suspect anything?
Not a chance. Never goes down into the cellar on account of the spiders, you see.
Let's have her over here, then. That's it. Nice of the police to leave this hole. Roll her in, then.
Not very deep.
Deep enough.
You sure they won't find her?
Not a chance. Pass us the spade. A foot and a half should do it. The law will be back in the morning to do the job properly. Would you believe it? The old cow's mouth is still open.
Would you like me to close it?
No need. Let's just fill it for her, shall we?
Funny to think, a year from now, my Alice will be going the same way. We do have to wait a full year, I suppose.
It's what we agreed.
What we agreed.
That should do it. Checkmate, game, and match, eh?
Albert.
Fred?
One thing.
Out with it, then.
You didn't really mean what you said about never playing chess with me again, did you?
At the time. Took a lot of work, that lawn out at Lakeside, you know.
But now?
Well, we're partners, aren't we?
I'll set up the board, shall I, Albert?
Why not?
Albert followed Fred up the cellar steps. If he had a thought at all, it was only to remember the old adage to the effect that the safest place to hide anything is where no one will ever look. And the second safest place? Where they've looked already. When Albert reached the top of the steps, he switched off the light. He never looked back.
That was Vincent Price, bringing you The Price of Fear. Also starring in this story, remains to be seen, were Mervyn Johns, Michael Gwynn, Clive Swift, and Avril Angers, with Diana Bishop and Robin Brown. Remains to be Seen was first recounted by Jack Ritchie, dramatized by William Ingram, and produced by John Dias.